disappointed in every one of you.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I kiss you on the mouth.
No, I'm not cool with that. I'm sorry.
One more time.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I mean, I'm dealing with degenerate animals.
I'm disappointed in every one of you. Disappointed in every one of you.
All right, come on.
Honestly, I can't do it, man.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
Let me tell you why.
It's gonna be all right, Nicky. Go ahead, shoot.
He just killed a little fucking man.
What are you going to do about it?
You're happy because you got nothing. You don't got a thing. You're happy because you got nothing.
Lobito!
Got nothing.
I want to get out. I want to get out of this rat hole. I want to get online. I need
BDA Boxing.
Welcome everybody to another BDA Boxing podcast, broadcasting to you live from the True North. This is your friend Mr. BDA, and alongside with me as always my co-host, the one, the only King, Bucho. King, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. Now you guys know the drill. We got to get the business out of the way before we get down to the fun, and what a whole bunch of fun we're gonna have, hopefully. You guys know what to do. Subscribe, hit the like button. Hit the like button from now on. I hope I don't have to tell you all the time. Hit that gosh darn like button. It really helps us out. Don't forget to spread the BDA gospel. Subscribe to BDA Live. We've got the second part of the Andrade film analysis there. This one is about his weaknesses, so check that one out. Get ready also for tomorrow's Anything Goes episode, where we're going to be opening up the portal. That means the phone lines and the StreamYard link, so that everybody can call in from around the world and give us their opinion on everything boxing. And if you get a couple of shekels lying around, you can wire them our way via the super chat during the show or via the Patreon and BDA PayPal page as well. Shout out to Saint Brit, Boxing Archives and Facts, Buddy Aces, Double A, Hawker Mustang, Amok PvP, Boxing Killers TV, Virtuoso, shout out to Virtuoso, Kenneth Supreme McGriff, KRO, Rick Rocca, Stephen Lawler, shout out to you guys, SSB28, Skull Crusher, Saint Brit, and many more to come, I'm sure. Carlos Mendoza, BOKS, Uncle Burnt Apostrophe. Guys, thank you for joining us. Hoping I didn't miss anybody. But if I did, you know the drill. Gotta move on here. So we got Steve Kim gonna be calling in here. It's gonna be really interesting. We're gonna talk to him about 15, 20 minutes, maybe a little more, hopefully. Maybe 25 minutes, you never know. I want to get to a couple of questions myself that I didn't ask Doug Fisher. You know, him and Steve Kim used to roll back in the day over at Max Boxing, and I don't know why those were, for me, some of the best moments in boxing. So I'm going to talk to him a little bit about that. We got Bucho, we got Stu on the line. Stu, are you there?
Yeah, what's happening, boys?
Hey, good to have you on board, man. Thank you for coming in.
Good to be here, man.
Hey, listen, tomorrow, I know maybe you're getting a little bit tired of it, but since we've taken a little break for a couple of days, hopefully your batteries are recharged. Tomorrow is going to be another all-out episode. No rules, open phone lines, StreamYard links galore. Are you ready for that, Stu?
Yeah. I don't have a problem with open shows and people calling in. It's just very tiring when you're dealing with these stupid people. And there's only so much stupidity you can deal with before you start to lose the will to live. And I think that's where I am right now. But yeah, I mean, I don't know about recharge of batteries. I'm still fucking hanging from last night. I had a drink for the first time last night. I had some chick over, so I got a fucking rat ass, and I'm feeling a bit rough today, shall we say? Let's just say that. So hopefully feeling better tomorrow.
All right. Well, there you have it, man. By the way, my microphone is starting to play tricks on me again. So you guys take over. Wait a minute now. One thing I want. Yeah, you guys. Okay, here it's coming and going. By the way, I thought was that?
No, fair, right.
All right. Yeah, it's coming and going, man. Butch, I'm gonna hide retard because I mean this motherfucker. I don't even know.
No, wait, leave him there.
All right. He's back. He's back. All right, take it easy.
Wait, is that the real H money?
I don't know, man. I can't check. If you can check for me, I really have no patience for this guy anymore, man. I'm starting to lose patience here, guys. I mean, it used to be fun, but you know, it's like certain guys, they just don't want to debate, man. They just want to scream.
Yeah, BDA, right? Yes. Now, how you're feeling? You've been around here for like a couple of years, right? Now, try 10 years of that. Now you know why I am like I am. Now you know, brother. Yeah, I mean, it's not like I'm just a miserable fucker that just wants to moan at everyone. This is 10 years of mental torture from these fucking savages. And look, there's only, like I said, you're a patient guy. You're a bit more patient than me, and even you fucking lost the will after 2 years. So look, this is what. Well,
it's not that I've lost the will. I got plenty of will, but it's just that. By the way, Butch, is that the real one or?
Hold on, I'm still looking into this.
I don't think it's him because he's putting he's putting his address again. I mean, I know the real H. First of all, there's no the H money that we know, the one that has the shape of ET. He is not the actual H Money. I think it was Red Glove who told us that this guy stole the name H Money from some other dude, and he's been trying to pass it off ever since. So this guy, the guy with the skinny fat body and the tits, the saggy droopy tits, that's not the real H Money. All right,
let's say. I mean, yeah. Out of all the people's identity is still. I mean, H Money surely is the last on the list. Who'd want to be him? So
no, well, anyway, I don't think I explained properly what's going on. The annoying H Money that we know, he stole the name from somebody else.
Also,
some sort of rapper from the UK. I think
he can't even think of his own name now. I mean, that's what we're dealing with.
Butcho, is that the real one or not?
I don't know, man. The option to look into people's channel is gone.
It's gone, huh? Yeah, what the fuck?
Yeah. Stupid.
Anyway. But listen, as long as we're talking here, tomorrow it's going to be one of those controversial episodes where we talk about anything and everything peripheral to boxing. That means, yes, we're going to be focusing on the stupidity that comes out of certain fighters' mouths. But for the moment, we're going to keep it to boxing here. So I was rewatching Nigel, because Stu talked about the episode we did on Easter. He was talking about Nigel Benn versus Gerald McClellan. My goodness gracious, that fucking fight, man. And you gotta give. Yeah, man. I mean, it's been a while since I'd seen the fight, because Stu, it's one of those fights where it's entertaining, but since you know the outcome and the tragedy that follows, you don't really know whether to enjoy it or
It's not. Yeah, I mean, it's not one I like to go. When I'm looking on YouTube, I'll watch McClellan get put in a coma again. It's not one of them. It's one of them fights where I'll watch it if it's on a documentary or something like that, but it's just not something I like to go back to. Like I said, I've got no love lost with Gerald McClellan. The guy was a piece of shit, but it's still I don't like to see that in the box. I don't like to see that to happen to anyone, sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, but it was a savage fight, wasn't it? I mean, it took it maybe took fucking Gerald McClellan's career that night, but also took Nigel Benn's, because he was never the same. Like, yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, he was just one of those brutal wars that head punches all over the place, and the funny thing was that the commentators, the chat room in there in that video, the comment section, I should say, they were pretty vicious towards the commentators. I think it was Ferdy Pacheco and I forget the name of that guy that used to do the commentating for Showtime. But anyway, all right. Yeah, I'm checking. Oh, shit. Okay, I got you, Butcher. I was scrolled up, that's why I didn't see your comments.
I've only heard the ITV commentary from the UK. I haven't heard the American.
Hey, what was that guy that in the comment sections too that said that talked about BT Sports and that you didn't know what you were talking about?
What this guy? I mean, I got a comment. He goes, "I'm from the UK, and I think like he says he's from the UK, like that means anything. Like he's smarter than everyone, and you should take his word that Stuart don't know fuck all about. Who is this fucking clown? 10 years on YouTube, 18 subs. I mean, that's what we're dealing with here. And this guy tells me I know nothing about it. Please ring in. But look, he's talking about, so I can school you live on air. But he's talking about, Stu, that what he's talking about. Barry McGuigan was a shit fighter, shit commentator. But then he went and mentioned Barry Jones and Richie Woodall. I mean, I know for one thing for sure, fucking Barry McGregor was a lot better fighter than Barry fucking Jones and Richie Woodall. I mean, I remember Richie Woodall. We was talking about him the other day. The most basic fight you'll ever fight in your life. But he had heart and will, and he was a tough guy. Look, just basic, fundamental fighter. That you can, that went to a certain level because he had, he's hungry and he had desire and will. That's all it was. I mean, this guy's not a great fighter, is he? But Barry McGuigan, I mean, this guy's talking about what shit commentator, shit fight was. Barry McGuigan's better than him. This is what we're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we're dealing with, these clowns. I mean, but they'll never ring in. They talk like that Guerrero de la Puta, whatever his fucking name is. What?
Oh, come on.
Look, that guy. Well, like I said, he seems to think I'm a snob. He goes, he talks like some English professor. You know you're a third world scutter when you think Stu Little is a fucking snob. You've got to be, because I'm as common as muck. But because he's because he's bottom of the barrel in society, he thinks I'm fucking high up. He thinks I'm middle class or something. Look, Guerrero's another one. All talk when he's behind his keyboard, but then when he comes on, I mean, I thought it was fucking Minnie Mouse when it was ringing it. An absolute melt.
Professor Stu, that's your new title. But we have Jimmy on the line.
Yeah, Butcher, did you put line in again? Because I hear the buzzing sound in the background. Take it off. You don't need it. You don't need it.
I want to play this before we continue.
All right, go ahead.
I would never lose to a white boy in my life.
Butcher, that's a preview. That's a preview for tomorrow, man.
All right.
By the way, like I said,
I'm picking Luke. I mean, Lomachenko. I mean, I'm picking Luke Campbell to beat that guy.
No. Save it for tomorrow.
Okay.
By the way, Virtuoso.
Jimmy, we could hear you, but he's gone.
Yeah, Virtuoso told me about Steve Albert. That was one of the commentators for Showtime. He was commentating for about 15 years, I think, 12, and then all of a sudden, whoop, he disappeared. They replaced him with that black guy that was always screaming. I forgot what his name is. He was there for about 2-3 years, and then that's when they put Mauro Ranallo there. Mauro Ranallo. He also, whether he's on Fuego, whether he's commentating or talking in real life, he always has the same voice. Like, geez, Mauro, take it. I know he's bipolar, but that's not an excuse to talk like that. By the way, we finally got Jimmy on the line. Jimmy, you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, man. We could hear you the first time.
Okay, all right. Oh, you could the first time?
Yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't loud.
No, but, yeah, all right. No, I was having a real hard time hearing, especially Stu there. What's going on? Yeah, I heard you play that fucking
No.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
All right, well, he tweeted it to me. I didn't know what. Am I supposed to talk about it?
Well, we can talk about it a little bit.
Okay, no. Why you planning on doing another show about it? No. So I'll wait till tomorrow.
Oh, we got a phone call, by the way. Is that him, Bucho?
No, that's Vinny Mac.
Are you sure?
Probably 585 is Vinny Mac, unless it's another 585, and that's not Steve Kim.
Vinny can wait. Vinny can wait.
Well, we can. Well,
I mean, look, Vinny, I like you, man, but it's gotta be your phone call's gotta be spaced out, man. We can't be. It can't be the Vinny hour every fucking episode. You know what I mean?
Mr. David Haney is going to knock out Lomachenko.
Anyway, listen, we were talking about Nigel Benn versus Jerome McClellan, and here's the other thing. While I went down the rabbit hole of 1995, 1996 super middleweights. One thing that came up was Steve Collins. Now, Steve Collins did beat Chris Eubank and Nigel Benn, but the big question was, did he avoid Joe Calzaghe? There was a lot of debates in all the YouTube videos in the comment section. The answer is yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's why Chris Eubank stepped in. Steve Collins was meant to fight Calzaghe. And Eubank stepped in after about 10 days' notice. That's all he had. And That's why, I mean, Eubank was it was at the end of his career anyway. So I think Kawasaki got Eubank at the end of his career for sure. But Kawasaki, I think, would probably beat Eubank in any era. I mean, I just thought Kawasaki was that good. But yeah, it's a fact. Steve Collins ducked Kawasaki. He just didn't want that fight. Pulled out. Well, I said with a few days to go. I mean, lost his title as well. So that's a duck.
I never really was a big Ben fan because dude couldn't hit hard. You know what I mean? I don't like guys who didn't punch hard. Just,
Yeah, me too.
that dude hit like a truck.
Oh mate, that's the only thing he could do. I mean, even his trainer Kevin Sanders said he couldn't throw a jab. He couldn't do anything.
But he did hit hard though, right?
But yeah, I
he
mean,
could hit hard.
like I said, he had the basics, and he could punch like a mule. And like I said, tough as nails as well. I mean, he showed incredible heart against Joe McCullough. I mean, because that was heart that got him through that. Toughness and heart.
What about Eubank too? He showed some crazy fucking heart in that fight too.
One of the best
Crazy.
chins. One of the best chins I've seen in the boxing ring, Chris Eubank.
You know what? I got mad. I got mad respect for him after his son's fight. The way he was so blatantly honest, like just no, you didn't win. Like just was honest about every honest with the press after. What?
Yeah, but he needed that. He needed that.
No, exactly. But you know, Stu, a lot of fathers, especially in this game,
yeah, but
you know what I mean? Not going to tell the kids that type of shit, especially if they're worried about being cut off.
Well,
but he doesn't have to worry about that.
Well, they're not the people you need around you. The yes men are the last people. Well, in boxing, the yes men are the last people you need around you, mate, because it could end up bad like it did for Gerald McCullen when he decided to get rid of Emmanuel Stewart for some fucking clown. So,
like Wilder.
Look, I mean, BDA watched the fight the other night. I mean, Gerald McCullen it was clear to anyone that knows anything about boxing that this guy was struggling with his breathing. He was having problems. I mean, Emmanuel Stewart even said he would have pulled him out that night, but them guys were too scared to pull McCullen out. He told them what to do. He told them what tactics. He told them. He actually wrapped his own hands, because I remember Kevin Sanders said he went into the dressing room before the Ben fight, and Gerald McCullen's wrapping his own hands, and Kev Sanders goes to Gerald, we doing wrapping your own hands? He goes, none of these fucking clowns know how to do it. That's what Gerald McCullen said about his own team. None of these fucking clowns know how to wrap hands. He had to do it himself. And look what happened that night. So, yeah, that'd be my best advice to any fighter. Don't surround yourself with yes men. And sometimes fathers can be yes men.
But Stu, you still got to give Nigel Benn credit, because he was very smart what he did. He jumped in there. He got dropped. Now, some people would have thought, well, the logic is run around the ring and try to survive. He didn't do that. He went into the mouth of the lion and said, I'm going to smother him and just take it to him.
I'll give credit. I'll give him more credit for that. Yeah, I mean, you're right.
But, I mean, you do. What's up? What would you want?
Nothing.
Go ahead, BDA.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, so Nigel Benn, I mean, you mentioned that in the last episode, on that Easter episode, that it took out something out of Nigel Benn. Now, do you think it took something out of him because of the vicious nature of the fight, or was it psychological because of what he did to Gerald McClellan?
Both.
All right.
Both. Psychologically, it destroyed him. You've only got to see in the documentary when he met Gerald McClellan, that fundraiser. I mean, it broke him, man, when he saw Jay. Look. It's not any boxer that puts unless your name's Sergei Kovalev, it's going to affect most fighters, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Sergei goes home and cooks himself a steak after he's just killed someone in the ring. But
yeah, he cracks open a couple of beers.
Opens a beer and cooks a steak, isn't it? Yeah. But
he drinks a beer for every.
And look, it physically, it took everything out of Nigel Benn. Nigel Benn was never the same guy, but also took out Eubank was the same. I mean, if you go and watch Eubank's fights after he put Watson in a coma, Eubank was pulling a lot of his shots, and he was not getting the guys out there when he could have. He was going to points, and you could tell it. He was just going into pop shot his way to a points win, because he'd lost that killer instinct, and that's what it did to him. And I think the same with Ben. I mean, Ben just didn't look the same guy. Shadow of the man after that McCullough.
By the way, we also got Recognize the Matrix on the line. Recognize, are you there?
Hello.
Hey, good to have you on board, man.
Thank you for having me.
Just want to remind you guys, tomorrow is an all-out episode. Phone lines are gonna be open. StreamYard link for everybody, and it's gonna be one of those shows where anything goes, man. Now, one thing I do want to clarify here is, I and it's not necessarily to you guys here on the Discord, but one thing we do really have to maintain is a form of decorum when we're speaking to the callers, no matter how stupid what they say may be, because we're really trying to get away from the, somebody calls, we disagree with them, go fuck yourself. You know what I mean? It's like we really got to keep and attack the arguments themselves, if indeed there is room for there's a disagreement. Otherwise, we just become like every other, most shows out there, not every other one show, but most shows where the callers are just attacked. And by the way,
I try to behave myself.
Well, it wasn't about you. I'm just saying overall. I just want to remind people with the agenda of what we're having here.
In BDA, you're not talking smack either, dude, because I'll be honest with you, a couple of people I turned on to the show had just recently complained to me about that.
Really?
Saying that, yeah, I swear to God, dude, told me,
well,
man, those guys kind of come down hard on some of these kids who call in, huh? And I said, well, you got to understand, it might be some past history there. He said, yeah, I don't know. Just some kid called in right away. He said somebody was telling him to kill himself.
Oh, well, hold on. Before we continue.
Yeah, I said, I'm sure it might have been taken out. He might have been taken out of context. I said, these are good guys, stuff. That, and I'll tell you, a big complaint is talking over each other, and I'm as guilty as anybody.
Well, that's the nature of this. Yeah, that's the nature of people,
exactly.
It's the nature of the. We're not in the same room, We're not in the same room, so it's going to happen. There's a delay. We're online. Discord, it's a free service. It's not necessarily premium or anything. So
we're not in an ESPN studio. You know what I mean?
Well, it's probably not even so much the panel. It's when you have like that caller, DSG. Remember him, dude? I mean, Buccio had to keep fucking muting him. I mean, he would ask Stu a question. Stu couldn't get 2 words out of his fucking mouth to get blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Facts.
But this is the problem we get with a lot of the callers.
Facts, bro.
These are big facts, you know what I'm saying? Because they're big facts.
Bro.
By the way, shout out to Mark 37373737. Mark, I've seen him a lot on other streams. Shout out to Mark, man. He says H Money is a fake racist clown. My UK boys won't forget. Well, there you go, Mark. Thank you for the contribution. And yes, that's H Money is a fake racist. He says the N word all the time, and then he complains when other people use it. Hey, fair use. The N word should be fair use.
Him, could Hector Macho Camacho use the N word? Yes or no?
He did. He did it regardless if you liked it or not.
What I mean, that's true. That's true. But did he have the right? I think so.
Well, he would beat you. First of all, he would beat up the average man that ever tried to say anything anyway. So it wouldn't be. Maybe you could shoot him, I guess, right? I mean, that's how he died.
He didn't have much self-control. He wasn't like the type of person you're going to bad mouth out in public and not catch a slap. You know what I mean? That's what most boxers.
Angel Garth another one that uses the word quite freely, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's true, yeah.
Well, he's from that 80s thing, man. I'll tell you, Puerto Ricans, I'm sure.
So he's Camacho, though. So it's Camacho.
Exactly, Puerto Rican, and from the 80s, exactly. Because I'm sure he could tell you that in the Puerto Rican community, it's pretty popular to use that amongst each other.
Yeah, first of all, you got a lot of Puerto Ricans that are like, if you didn't know their last name was Rodriguez, you'd think he's black. So it's like,
look, you can't say that Puerto Ricans are allowed to join the Hebrew Israelites and then have a go at when they use the M word. And which one is it? I mean, they're either one of you or the end.
Are the weirdest people, Stu. It's kind of weird going through 42nd Street and not seeing them around.
but like I said, they're allowed to join the Hebrew Israelites, aren't they? Because they're classed, the Hebrew Israelites class them as
they're clowns. I mean,
one of the tribes. So
Brown people. You see that video of that woman kissing one of their feet?
Yeah, she's a disgrace. She's a disgrace.
You see that? That white woman and her fucking boyfriend kissed her feet.
That shot there basically describes the sickness of the white woman on the left. I mean, is there a more retarded creature on the planet than the white woman on the left? I mean, just
I would have shot her right in the fucking head. I swear to God. I swear to God. I swear to God. I would have shot her right in the fucking head. I would have followed her somewhere, put one right behind her ear. What a piece of garbage.
Yeah, I mean, this is the problem. I mean,
when I see
the behaviour from these lefties, it just makes me sick to my stomach. I just think these people are not well. They can't be. I mean, anyone that kisses a Hebrew Israelite's feet needs fucking mental.
Oh,
it needs mental help.
Fucking makes my stomach turn, man.
Yeah, I mean, this.
You know, one of the guys that I knew, I grew up with his dad, right? and he works for me. He almost got into a fight with them. You had to see how they backed down. They were scared. He almost got into a fight with him because he's basically a black kid. He's like, his father's Puerto Rican, his mother's like from Trinidad or something like that, and he's brown skinned, curly hair, and he says something, and he was like, "Dan, stop talking to people like that."
By the way,
mind your business. He said, "Mind your business and stop sticking up for the white people." You race trader.
Guys,
I have to grab him. I gotta grab him because he looks like he was gonna hit him. He probably would have whipped his ass. I mean, the kid boxes and all that stuff. So.
Guys,
we gotta. Yeah, first of all, Butcher, let me just address the phone call there because I think we got a phone call, but I think it's outside of North America. So whoever's trying to call in, if we answer, I think you might get charged.
He's already paying. He's already being charged.
Yeah, so you should hang up, man, because you're gonna get charged up the wazoo. And the BDA.
I think they're aware of that, though.
Just take the call. See
all right, let's see who it is, man. Jeez Louise. All right, 614. You're on the air. 614.
6140.
Are you there, man?
140.
Hold on. What's that? Caller, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, man. Let me just tell you, you're probably getting charged up the ass with this call, man. So if I were you, I would hang up, man.
That's fine, mate. That's fine. Listen, this is Big Drama Show.
Yeah, it is Big Drama Show.
Big Drama Show. It will be a big drama show if you keep paying that phone bill for us.
Great podcast.
I'm having a hard time here. Is this Big Drama Show from Australia?
That's definitely an Australian.
Yes, it is.
Definitely Australian.
All right, but you're
crackling. Show, dude?
You're crackling
no shit,
up,
man.
Yeah, you're cracking up a lot, though, man.
Yeah.
Hang up and give him a StreamYard link later. Hang up and give him a StreamYard link.
Okay.
Yeah, just later. On StreamYard, because at the end of the day, you're going to be paying a fortune for a fucking line that is crackling. I can't even hear what you're saying. So.
Yeah, and I don't think
no more phone calls. No more.
I don't think Butcher. I don't think it was the plugin that I have here for the volume that was crackling, because when we did the test, you didn't crackle. So hopefully,
Steve says he's gonna be calling in 2 minutes.
In 2 minutes, we're gonna time him. All right. So so you guys were talking about. I spaced out for two minutes because I had to take care of this whole fucking thing here. But you guys were talking about race, I believe. If I get recognized and Jimmy together, it's all race talk. The race war's coming. Charles Manson. Oh, by the way, did you guys actually? Yeah, we're gonna talk about that in a second, Renaissance. But we were talking about Nigel Benn before the Nigel Benn versus Gerald McClellan.
Nigel Benn was a great fighter.
Hey, I want to tell you, recognize, because I was re-listening to the Easter episode a little bit, and we were talking about Roy Jones and how he supposedly ducked Gerald McClellan. Hey, look, Gerald McClellan clips him, he ices him. But before you can ice somebody, you gotta touch him first. And I don't think he would have been able to lay a glove on Roy Jones, man.
I don't think it would have been easy. No. Roy Jones could have probably beat him too. Like, I could see Roy beating him, but if he catches Roy, night.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Look, Gerald McClellan's like one of them guys that telegraphs his shots. Technically very sound when he's throwing them. A guy like that is just not going to be missing all night. This is not Wilder we're talking, who has to load up on his punches to get the power. This guy, like I said, Golovkin, the short shots are hurting him. And, Roy was a genius at avoiding shots, using his footwork and his speed to get away from these shots. But look, a lot of the guys Roy was fighting were just too slow. I know he had a couple of good guys like Tony and B-Hop, but even for me, B-Hop was nowhere near his best when he lost to Joe.
That's the fight I would have liked to see too. I would have loved to see McClellan against Bernard Hopkins. I think that would have been a dog fight, man.
That would have been, man.
Because I tell you now, you know how Hopkins is like real tricky and could be a little dirty. I think if you'd have did that with Gerald, it would have been one of those guys would have got disqualified.
All right, guys. Yeah. BDA, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. We got Steve Kim on the line. Hold on a second. All right, Steve, are you there?
Gentlemen, how are you?
Hey, good to have you on board, man.
Good, good.
Hey,
I
Stevie.
apologize. I know I was supposed to come on about 27 minutes ago, but I was working on a story. I will talk about it now that I turned it in. It turns out that the fight that was scheduled for tonight, Maurice Hooker reached for Gray at Austin Hill, Maryland, at the MGM Grand Harbor. There's a very good chance it could be shifted to the month of July in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Match force kind of confirmed that the whole card could be moved over.
All right, hold on, Steve. Sorry to interrupt you, but you're breaking up. Let me restart this. All right. Sorry, Steve, you're breaking up. Let me just restart this thing here. Let me just restart this. All right, I'm gonna. Okay, I'm gonna switch to blocked. The other one. Hold on a second. Don't tell me I hung up on the guy. No, I didn't. Okay. Hold on a second. Give me 2 seconds here, guys. It's because I was trying something new. I think that was the problem, Bucho. It was the plugin, I think. All right. Hold on a second. What's that?
Yeah, forget about the plugins. Just take the call.
Yeah, I'm going to take the call. Don't worry about it. All right. Give us 2 seconds, guys, here. Hold on a second. 2 minutes. There we go. Reconnecting. Somebody says quality call. Yeah, I don't need the sarcasm for you sons of bitches, right?
Show now, press 1.
All right, hold on a second.
Since it appears you're calling back into a live show, we are reconnecting you now.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Hold on a second. I can't.
You guys there?
Yeah, Steve, sorry about that. We had some technical difficulties. All right, I think you're back, man.
Yeah, so basically what's going to happen is there's a very good chance, it's not a done deal, that the Regis program, Mo Hooker, that fight and the whole card, which also included Cecilia Brækhus and Filip Hrgović, could be shifted to Tulsa, Oklahoma in July. I'm being told that that's being worked on, but Tony Holden, who is one of the leading promoters, or the leading promoter in the state of Oklahoma, has a lot of relationships out there. And it did shows for years with Tommy Morrison. Had a showbox last week that was canceled featuring Charles Conwell. He was supposed to actually have an ESPN card tonight featuring one of the Maloney brothers. He did confirm that Matchroom has reached out. So basically, guys, the update is overall, in terms of the return of the sport, what I'm hearing is that the most realistic month for everything to kind of return, if not back to normal, to at least have fights that are fresh and new, is the month of July.
All right. That's good news. That's fantastic news. Hey, some people in Europe wanted to do it. Oh, no. We got to stay in quarantine for another year. I'm like, get out of here, man. Hey, listen, if the virus gets us, the virus gets us.
Okay. Gee.
Yeah, I know, man.
I mean, look, I am not saying any of us should be reckless. And rest assured, I do believe everyone is really going to be safe. Even Dana White. And I know he's taking a lot of slings and arrows. But think about this, guys. If you are going to be one of the first events of any sport, whether it's Major League Baseball, the NBA, boxing, you're going to take a little bit of criticism because there's always going to be somebody who says, well, wait a minute, why aren't we being more cautious? Why aren't we waiting? So the problem is, and it's not a problem, the issue is you've got to get this right. Because if you screw the pooch, you set this whole movement back months. Okay, so you've got to get it right. So Dana White, May 9th on Fight Island, wherever that is, he's got to run that shit perfectly. And it's the same issue with boxing. I know a lot of fighters are being told, start to get ready, because the way it's going to work is very simple, guys. They're going to offer these guys fights on a particular date, and they're not going to get 8 to 10 week camps like normal. They're basically going to be, hey, this is your date, this is the money. And if you don't take it, there's not going to be a lot of haggling because for the time being, there's a new normal. And if you don't take that assignment, go back to the end of that long line. That's kind of the way it's going to work.
Well, it brings up the question. One thing we were speculating about here, we're trying to be optimists. And since this couple of, it's been a month and a half, I think, some fighters aren't making that much money. It's delayed all the fights. There's not certain fighters aren't going to be able to fight maybe twice a year. Maybe they're just going to fight once. So some people here were speculating about whether this could lead to more inter-promotional work between, the Zone, PBC, Golden Boy. Is that a possibility, Steve, or is that being too optimistic?
That's an interesting question. Here's the problem, guys. And this is the analogy that I've used on Twitter. I've told other people. Right now, what we have in our world, or something like the boxing industry, we've all been on the freeway driving at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, right? We all have someplace to go. Then all of a sudden, all you see is like 800 brake lights in front of you because a 18-wheeler tipped over on its side, blocking traffic for 5 miles. Well, think about it. Even when you get the authorities to pull that 18-wheeler off the side of the road and traffic can resume, it still takes a few miles and at least 20, 30 minutes before the flow of traffic returns to normal, if it's even that fast. And that's kind of the way it's going to be in boxing. We're going to have to ease into the normal, and the normal may never be the same. But the way I look at it, the first couple of shows or the first couple of months, I can't imagine there being a live audience. And for the really big fights, the live audience and the revenue that they generate or the casino fee that they derive is a large part of the economics. I mean, I asked this of Eddie Hearn last week. You have Anthony Joshua, who could literally do 80,000 people, and that's part of the reason why he's the highest paid fighter in the sport. And Eddie said, you're right. I can't imagine him or Canelo fighting in a studio setting because a lot of the money would be lost, a lot of the atmosphere, and those nights are very, very important to the sport of boxing. Now, on the flip side, guys, most fights and fighters, it doesn't matter because they're not draws. They're just basically pieces on the chessboard, and hopefully they could move up to fight one of the bigger names and really make a score. I think most fights are not going to be that affected whether you have a crowd or not. Guys just want to get paid for the time being. The question is, can you make the big fights without a crowd? Well, if you don't have a crowd or not allowed to have a crowd for the first couple of months, I'm not really sure anyone's in a position to do cross promotions and put up some of their big commodities against each other. And another issue that I think these fighters have to face, and I spoke about this with Jamel Herring yesterday, the WBO 130-pound champion. He told me explicitly, guys, if there's not going to be a crowd, I don't need to wait 4 or 5 months for it to return. And instead of fighting in Belfast, Northern Ireland next year, I'd rather just fight right now in a studio against Carl Frampton for less money. Now, the question is, does Frampton feel that way? Does he want to give up that home canvas advantage and having all his countrymen there? So there's a lot of questions. I think for the most part, guys, the 4 to 6 to 8 round fighter and most 10-round fighters, whenever they get the call, they want to get paid. It's really the upper level fighter that is going to have some really tough, difficult decisions to make.
Yeah, that's what it seems like, right? I mean, it's some of these guys can afford to take this blow, this economic blow. Other people, they gotta get in the ring right away. So by the way, we got Stu, one of our panelists, my co-host King Bucho, and of course Jimmy from Jimmy's Corner. Guys, you want to ask Steve a question or?
Yeah, Stevie, what's up, buddy? Oh no, I was gonna say hi real quick, Stu, and then you can. What's going on, Stevie?
Oh my goodness, this is like old times. How are you?
What's happening, brother? How you been?
I've been well as can be. Just blessed here to still be working and having some sort of normalcy. There's still boxing to cover, even though there's no fights. I hope you're well, Jimmy.
Good, thank you, brother. Your family, everybody good there?
Can't complain.
Excellent, brother. All right, Stu, fire away, bro.
Hi, Steve. Stu Little here. I was just wondering if you had any information on Canelo Billy Joe Saunders, because this is a fight that I'm quite intrigued to watch. I think it's another style that I think could cause Canelo problems, and I want to see it.
I don't disagree with you. I actually thought it was an intriguing fight, given the fact that I was actually there when Canelo struggled mightily against Austin Trout and Erislandy Lara. And again, this was much earlier in his career. He certainly developed into one of the elite fighters in the world. But while I don't think it was an exciting fight, it was very exciting in one sense, or intriguing, given the fact that Canelo, with his growth and development, I wanted to see, is he any better at cutting off the ring and suffocating a slick, well-schooled southpaw? So that fight, my understanding was basically a done deal, even though it wasn't formally announced. In fact, the week after the first set of shows featuring Shakur Stevenson and Michael Conlon were canceled that were supposed to take place at Madison Square Garden, right around that time in L.A., I was told by Golden Boy that week they were going to have a press conference to announce that fight for May 2nd. So I don't know what happens to that fight. I believe it would have been a very difficult one. Billy Joe Saunders is like the Dow Jones. He's up and down. Depending on his level of competition, look, he can either be very, very good or he could be very, very mediocre. And I've seen both ends of the spectrum. I was at his last fight at the Staples Center where he fought this very nondescript guy. And quite
terrible.
frankly, he kind of stunk out the joint. So,
he did. That's the problem. That's the problem with him, Steve.
now, guys.
I think
My
when you stick a more dangerous guy in front of Billy Joe, I think you get the best of him. But when he's in there with a big puncher like he was with Lemieux, look, I'm not saying David Lemieux's Canelo Alvarez. I've got Canelo Alvarez winning this fight by stoppage. But I just think it's a style that could just gives Canelo different problems. Do you know what I mean? I'd have been intrigued to see it. But any news at all? Do you is it being cancelled now because they're talking about just skipping that fight now and going straight to Golovkin?
There's a lot of talk of that, but here's the issue. Number one, if you go right into Golovkin, which has been discussed, I've heard two things. Golovkin and his team, they kind of want to have a tune-up fight after that war they went through with Sergei Derevchenko. So that's an issue. The other point is, and go back to what I said a couple minutes ago, Anthony Joshua against anybody or Gennady Golovkin against Canelo, you need to have a crowd there because part of the revenue stream for Golden Boy and Canelo is having it either in Dallas, where Jerry Jones will pay a pretty penny for it, or in Las Vegas. So, I think there's a lot of fights you can do in a studio, and it really doesn't matter. But when it comes to Canelo and Anthony Joshua and guys of that ilk, it becomes very, very problematic. So think about it. Canelo already has an issue with Golden Boy. You know, that's a marriage that's gone very, very sour. And I've said, if that was a marriage, they're not even sleeping in the same bedroom. How do you think Canelo would react to Golden Boy, the brass, coming up to him and say, Canelo, do you mind taking a pay cut for this fight? He doesn't want to hear that. He doesn't.
Yeah, that's true, man. I hadn't even thought about that. It's true. These crowds are going to take away, if there's no crowds, it's going to take a whole lot of money out of these people's pockets, man. Steve, I wanted to ask you something, man, because we had Doug Fisher, your colleague from the Max Boxing Days, a couple of weeks ago, and I wanted to get to this question and never got the time to do it. By the way, I know you got a lot of work to do, so we don't want to keep you on too long. So you tell us like 5 minutes or 10 minutes before you got to go, like, hey, guys, you know.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. But I wanted to ask you, because I started reading you and Doug Fisher from the Max Boxing Days around early 2000s, and one of my finest boxing memories is the Hopkins Trinidad fight because of the significance of the fight and everything that happened outside of it. So I wanted to ask you, first of all, I remember Trinidad was like the Golovkin of his day, except that he was getting the big fights and knocking everybody out. And very few people were picking him. I got the Ring magazine here from when they did the preview for that fight, and they asked 20 experts who they picked for the fight. Out of 20, I think there were only like 5 guys. One of them was you, and you picked Hopkins by late fight stoppage. And I remember you and Doug Fisher were the only ones that were really giving him more than a fighting chance. What did you see back then that made you want to pick Hopkins for that victory?
Well, first of all, you know what they say about a broken clock? It's right twice a day. And 2001 was a good year. I was also one of the few people that picked Marco Antonio Barrera in Ring Magazine over Hamed. So every dog has its day. Let me tell you what I saw. I had always been a big Hopkins advocate. I still remember watching him against Segundo Mercado in Quito, Ecuador. And I thought, this guy's pretty good because I thought he held his own against Roy Jones for the most part. Even though he lost that fight clearly, I said, that's a good little mechanic. Very sound. And what I saw was that Trinidad was an incredible puncher. Now, for the record, we had just started Max Boxing, me and Doug, along with Gary Randall and later Tom Gerbasi. So we went to every round of that Don King middleweight tournament. And it goes to show you that styles make fights, but styles also create a mirage. And in the first fight, Hopkins got matched up with Keith Holmes, very long, difficult southpaw, won 11 out of 12 rounds, but he didn't really look impressive. There were no fireworks. But then about 3-4 weeks later, Trinidad just absolutely beheads William Joppy. It's one of the most devastating knockouts I've ever seen. One of the biggest beatings I've ever seen for a short fight. Never seen a crowd as loud as the Puerto Ricans that night. Created this impression that one guy was kind of ordinary and average and the other guy was Superman. And I still remember the Puerto Rican fans having signs basically saying Roy Jones is next after Hopkins. That's how confident they were. But I've always thought Hopkins had a very, very high boxing IQ. Now, I don't know if you ever got into this, but we did a series of videos where me and Doug drove down late night one time to spend a day at Prince Ranch in Las Vegas. Now, this is about 3-4 weeks maybe before 9/11, and Hopkins had made his training camp out there at Prince Ranch, like I said, and we got to sit in on everything they did. And the display of boxing that Bernard showed in that sparring session against this young man out of Georgia who had a pretty good amateur career, didn't work out as a pro, named Brandon Mitchum. And I remember watching going, wow, Bernard is so underrated with this skill. And he had great vision, had a great trainer by the name of Bowie Fisher. And you know, Bernard has mellowed out a lot. Okay, back then he truly was the angry renegade of boxing. And he was on a mission. And physical strength is so key, guys, that a lot of welterweights move up and are very successful at 54, where Trinidad was absolutely perfect. But the Joppy fight created a bit of a mirage in the sense that Joppy was a very small middleweight, and I don't think he was nearly technically as sound as B-Hob. And 9/11 happened. I'll never forget it, because our flight was supposed to take off in 2 days from Newark Airport, where one of the airplanes actually took off from. And Bernard was just, to me, that version of Bernard Hopkins, guys, call me crazy, I think is one of the top 5 or 6 middleweights that ever lived. If you take a look at toughness, chin, boxing IQ, footwork, and look, when he was able to take away Trinidad's left hook, okay, and then he was able to beat him to the punch. And I remember him hitting him with a very big right hand early in the second round that backed up Trinidad. Trinidad understood one thing. I'm at middleweight now. And I just saw a guy that had great ring IQ, was vastly underrated. And this is what people forget about Bernard Hopkins. Yes, the last 25 fights of Bernard Hopkins were not that exciting. It was more about the intelligence and the ring IQ. But people completely forget the early part of Bernard Hopkins, when he was really the executioner, he was a strong right-handed puncher. In fact, he knocked out Steve Frank in 11 rounds. He blew out some pretty decent guys early, but it wasn't always pretty or exciting. And that night, that you saw a man come into his own. It was a special performance by the executioner.
Yeah, man. And here's another thing that I wanted to clear up, because I remember there were rumors back in the day during the summer that Hopkins was going Marvin Hagler style, just, enclosing himself in camp, taking it very seriously, very Spartan. Is it true that he boarded up the windows at his gym?
Well, I don't remember that, but I will say this about Bernard Hopkins. His idol was Marvin Hagler. He's told me that from the very minute I ever met him. That was his role model. And I can honestly say that out of all the athletes that I've covered in this sport, Bernard was absolutely the most disciplined, hard-nosed, monastic athlete I've ever covered, by far. He has not had a drop of alcohol since his day, since he was released from the Graterford Institute or the penitentiary. And every time I see him, he'd always say, Steve, I'm not getting any more than 6-7 pounds over 160. Now, I'll tell you a story, guy, that says it all about Bernard Hopkins, that really let me know this guy's going to go places. This was in 1999. I'm still relatively new on the beat. I met Bernard once. We had exchanged numbers. Now, this is when he was living in Delaware, and I think he still lives there. And I remember calling him after he had a very tough 12-round fight against Antoine Eccles. Now, this was on a Sunday night on Fox Sports. It's actually a very underrated fight. Eccles was a very dangerous puncher, but he beat him. So that fight's on a Sunday. I called Bernard, I believe on a Wednesday, and his wife, Jeanette, answers the phone. And I wanted to talk to Bernard about what he wanted to do in the future. And his wife said, oh, Steve, Bernard's already back at the gym. And I knew right then this guy's going to be tough to beat.
Jeez.
There's nobody that I have ever covered that understood or relished the lifestyle of a fighter 24/7, 365 like Bernard Hopkins.
Hey, Steve, can I just ask you something quickly, and then I'll pass it on to someone else? You talked about all-time great middleweights. You had Hopkins, the top five. We have a debate on this show quite a lot about Hagler versus Golovkin. How do you see that one going? If obviously it's a fantasy fight, never going to happen. But what's your opinion on that?
Hagler's my favorite fighter of all time. He's the guy that I kind of grew up in the 80s really admiring the most. There are some similarities with that career in a sense that they were kind of shunned. They didn't get the big fight necessarily early on in their careers. Their big fights ended up happening against guys that moved up in weight. I think it's always a shame that Gennady did not get that decision in the first fight against Canelo Alvarez. I think there's certainly age. I do think that Hagler is a more versatile athlete, could switch it. But there is an issue, though. You know, it's funny. I think Hagler retired at age 32 or 33, and people forget that Hopkins was really effective into his late 30s, and Golovkin now is 38. And for the first time, guys, with Derevchenko, I was there ringside, he really started to look like a guy going backwards physically. But I would favor Hagler for a couple of reasons. He had more fights, more wins. At least two of those losses were very, very debatable. And where Hagler is very underrated is that I know that Hopkins and Golovkin have more middleweight title defenses, but if you really study the history of Hagler, well, first of all, he fought in an era where there weren't 4 belts. He also fought in an era that you can get blackballed literally for years. And he went through an absolute gauntlet in Philadelphia, fighting Boogaloo, Watts, Cyclone Hart, guys of that nature, Willie the Worm Monroe, and still couldn't get a title shot. And then he was robbed against Vito Antuofermo in his first shot. So, to me, when it relates to middleweights, the ones that I've seen, and I didn't really get to see Monzon live, and I certainly didn't get to see Ray Robinson, to me, it'll always be the best 3 in any order, but number 1, Hagler, I think Hopkins 2, and then Golovkin probably a close 3. So, you know, all 3 are excellent fighters, but Hagler to me will always be the special figure.
Hey, Steve, the reason why I agree too, obviously, I'm a little biased, you know what I mean? He's same with me, my favorite all-time fighter. But with Hagler, too, if you take into consideration, you know, I try to tell people, and they always, you know, about that, the timetable, because Hags fought for the vast majority of his career, probably up 90% of his fights at same-day weigh-ins, and that makes a big, big difference. Yeah. I don't think G could do a same-day weigh-in because of the size, you know what I mean?
You know what?
So that would...
Jimmy, look, I don't want to be that guy saying, get off my lawn, but I remember Ray Boom Boom Mancini telling me, Steve, because I don't want to disrespect any of today's fighters, but I can't judge them at all. And I go, why? He goes, Steve, if they had to weigh in at 9 o'clock in the morning the way I did, all these guys would have to be at least a weight class or 2 above, and they couldn't handle it. And that's a factor. There's no doubt about it. You talk to those fighters who fought in that era where they were not allowed to weigh in up to 30 hours before the first bell. They couldn't get 4 or 5 meals in. They couldn't stick an IV, legal or illegal, into their arm and then come in 3 weight classes above. Of course it's a different game. From that particular aspect, it does make a difference.
Absolutely, man.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, these weighing, some of these guys, I don't know how they do it, man. Losing 20 pounds the week of, well, not the week of a fight, but I mean, they just torture themselves. It's insane. Steve, I got to read a question here from the Super Chat. Shout out to L Dog, donated to the Super Chat, and he wants to ask you, Steve, who is the best heavyweight prospect? Now, he says it's Philip, what's his name again? Hrovic? How do you say his name? Hrovic? The Croatian guy. Hrgovic, yeah.
I'm gonna go with Daniel Dubois. I like Dubois. I was not all that blown away with him in the beginning, first several fights, but his improvement in 2019 was rapid. He really opened my eyes. And again, he didn't fight King Kong or Godzilla, and sometimes it is about the eyeball test, but Dynamite really, I thought, improved leaps and bounds. And what I like about him, that he's a strong, muscular guy, but he's not tight. There's some fluidity to him, and he looks like he's loose-limbed, and he's only 21 or 22. So if you were to tell me, Steve, who is the heavyweight for the next dozen years, from this point forward that you would put all your money on, and in terms of investing in their stock, it would be Dubois.
Yeah, I think didn't Doc Fisher say the same thing, guys? He said Dubois, right? I believe.
I'm the same with Steve. I didn't actually rate Dubois too highly when he first came. Very robotic and stiff with his work. I just thought, like I said, when I saw him fight Kevin Bum Bum Johnson, I thought he was dreadful that night. So, but I've seen the improvements. He's looking very dangerous. I mean, he looks like the one to watch. But I think that Joe Joyce could be a very tough fight for him, because if Joe Joyce can survive the early rounds and basically suck up some punishment, he's going to have to do that. But I can see Dubois, his tank's going to empty. And I think that's when Joyce might come in strong in the latter rounds. I think a lot of people are writing Joe Joyce off in that one, and I think to be very careful when you do that.
You know, I think it says a lot that the management and the promotional entity led by Frank Warren is pulling the trigger so quickly on a fight like that. Because you're right, but I also think it means on the flip side that the handlers of Joe Joyce are thinking, wait, we're already 33, 34. We don't have time to waste. The biggest advantage that Dubois has in that fight is fluidity. Look, I've met Joe Joyce. He's a big, strong guy, but he is stiffer than a crowbar. And I just see Daniel Dubois being much too fluid and loose for him and punch holes in him. That's my view.
Yeah, by the way, El Dog did not like the answer. Sorry, El Dog. Can't have it all, man. You can't get what you want, but sometimes you get what you need, man. Steve, also, okay, a couple more questions, and then we'll let you go, because I know you're a busy guy.
Sure.
I wanted to ask you.
No problem. I got all the time in the world here.
All right, perfect. Thanks, man. I wanted to ask you, didn't you, I think it was you, sometimes I forget whether it was you or Doc Fisher, but didn't you used to write back in the mid-2000s that there were these pair of brothers that would always show up to Juan Manuel Marquez fights before he was even actually famous or the darling of Mexico? Are those guys?
They weren't brothers by blood, but they were best friends. They both went to, I think, Oklahoma State University. They were Kirk and, God, who's the other name? Daryl Walker. These two white guys who actually boxed amateur in Oklahoma, and they had unbelievable knowledge about the sport. They really did. And it was crazy. They would show up to the Marquez fights all across the country, and they'd wear like this Mexican soccer jersey, one of their famous teams. And no matter where the fight was, they would go. And in fact, they were such big fans that when Marquez was scheduled to fight Chris John the original time in Indonesia, if that fight was not postponed, they would have actually been at that fight, which just blows me away. So we're at this fight in Reno, Nevada, where both Rafael Marquez and Juan Mel Marquez fight. And the show it was on Showtime, summer of 2006. And Marquez wins the fight. He's at the press conference, and there's not a lot of supervision, so they were allowed in. And they're kind of in the back, Daryl and Kirk. And Juan Manuel Marquez, in the middle of his, speaking, he basically says in Spanish, oh, and by the way, I really want to give my thanks to these two guys back there. And he points to Daryl and Kirk going, these guys are my biggest fans. And the fact that they show up to every one of my fights really means a lot. And I just really want to thank them. I thought that was a great thing that Juan Manuel Marquez did, shouting him out of nowhere.
If you were Juan Manuel Marquez, though, if you were in his place, wouldn't you have been a little creeped out that these two guys were that into him? I mean, come on, man.
Wait a minute, guys. Remember the word fan is short for fanatic. And, look, these guys were just really denizens of the sport. I don't think there was anything particularly creepy about their type of fandom, because it's not like they're trying to go to his hotel room. They never asked for autographs, to be honest with you. They weren't those type of guys. They both made good livings, and they're devoted fans. I think their lives have kind of veered off in different directions where they don't go to fights anymore. But I can honestly tell you that their knowledge of the game and just looking at it, because the other fighter that they really loved was Acelino Freitas, but number one was always Marquez.
You know what? That's during the mid-2000s. I remember thinking, man, Juan Manuel Marquez is getting, because he had that whole thing with Bob Arum and he fell off with Top Rank for a while there. That's why he had to go to Indonesia. But I almost remember thinking, man, people were talking about Barrera, Pacquiao 2. And I remember thinking, what about Marquez Pacquiao 2? That's the one that they should make first. So I definitely sympathize with those two fans, Kirk and the other guy, because Juan Manuel Marquez really was a jewel. and most people just didn't, weren't paying attention to him. Okay, real quick, I'll get another question here from the audience. Geez, where was it? Oh yeah, and it leads to, I don't know if this was a question to you actually, but it says, what round will Loma knock Teofimo out in? What type of question is that, man? Anyway, I don't know if you can answer that question.
I don't know. I mean, look, first of all, guys, I hate to be Debbie Downer here. I'm not so sure that fight happens now because that's another fight that needs a crowd. And I don't know if either guy's willing to take less money to fight in a studio. The other issue is Teofimo is bursting out at the seams. I think, just my view, I'm not inside his body. I don't know his metabolism. But I get the sense that this is the last year at 135 before he moves up to 140. It is a real chore for him to make 135, guys. So the coronavirus, if there's a casualty in boxing in terms of a fight, I wouldn't be surprised if it's that particular matchup, unfortunately.
That's the fight I wanted to see the most this year.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah, I agree with that. And with this coronavirus, like I said in the show the other day, a lot of these fighters are not in the gym like B-Hop and Floyd, keeping themselves in shape all year round. They're blowing up massively in between camps. And like I said, when they're not training, not in the gym, they're blowing up. And like I've got a feeling there's going to be a lot of catch weights this year, that's for sure.
Now, Steve.
Yeah, I've spoken to a few fighters about this, in fact, quite a bit. I wrote a story on it for ESPN. Most fighters said that they were going to stay in shape and they're still at the gym. But again, now several weeks ago, before all the gyms were officially shuttered for the time being. Also, here's another reality. If you are a fighter living in an apartment, I don't know where there's space for you to work out. Like, a lot of guys, look, not everyone is Chavez Jr., that has a whole kitchen and living room to set up a gym, okay? Not everyone has that plush backyard to do mitts in for half an hour for Instagram. So, I don't know what can really be done, but I would say this. If you are a fighter now, you have those doomsday meal prep kits just in case the apocalypse comes and you're in your bomb shelter for about 8 months, right? Hopefully not. But if you're a fighter, you better make sure after this that you go out and buy dumbbells, various sizes, 2-3 pounds, up to 5 pounds, maybe a little heavier. Buy some resistance bands. And if you have a wife or girlfriend, teach them how to work mitts. Because if you can't see your trainer outside of shadow boxing, I'm not so sure what you can really do outside of setting up a heavy bag in your spare bedroom.
Yeah, man, that's true. That's a very good point. Now, real quick, you mentioned that with the Trinidad Hopkins fight, how it was a bit of a mirage, the way that Trinidad knocked out Will and Joppa. Do you think it's a little bit of the same thing with Teofimo and Richard Comey? Because a lot of people, the tide seems to have turned. Some people more than ever now are picking Teofimo after that fight. Do you think it's a bit of a mirage too?
Yeah, styles make fights. And I don't know if I'd say it's a mirage, but look, I was at both fights. Nakatani, the Japanese fighter, was very tall. I mean, unusually tall for a 135-pounder. Teo had some personal issues that really distracted him. It was up and down. And Nakatani had the classic Japanese toughness. I mean, he got hit with a lot of shots that I think would have backed up other fighters or floored them. And look, there were things that happened that week with Teofimo and other family members that I don't think will ever be fully explained unless you were there. And then also Maxim Dadashov being carried off the way he was. It was just a strange atmosphere that night, guys. I had to cover that whole situation.
Yeesh.
And with Comey, it was interesting, guys. You talk about mirages being set. A lot of people were picking Comey before December 14th, and I said, no. This is a much easier style because Comey does not have much head movement. He's your classic Ghanaian fighter. Strong, tough, physical, but they are very, very robotic in terms of their movements. There's not a lot of tricks to them. Like, they are there to be hit. And you could just see it worked out well stylistically. Teofimo, when he's on, I'm just telling you, he's got a very high boxing IQ. He's a very sophisticated, strong fighter. And when he's right mentally and there's no distractions, he's gifted. And on that night, it got put together. And, you're right. We shouldn't overreact to one fight. But the one thing that I do think about Lomachenko, and it's not a knock on him, guys, I don't think he's a natural 35-pounder. The only reason why he's at lightweight, because at 26, all these other guys didn't want to fight him. Then at 130, a lot of other guys didn't want to fight him. So then he stuck at 135. And let's look at the history. For as brilliant as he is, and he is brilliant, Jose Pedraza touched him up a lot. Luke Campbell gave him some problems. And I think that had a lot to do more with the weight class than actually Loma.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. I think size, I think he's at his limit with the size. I think the reach and the size is starting to cause him problems, especially with the guys with the good straight punches. They seem to be tagging him up a little bit. So I totally agree with that one, yeah.
And you got his detractors saying, when is he going to move up to 140? He's already moved up, 3 divisions and 14 fights?
It's true, man, yeah.
Yeah. I don't, and look, I think out of 14, 15 fights, 12 of his opponents have won some sort of world title. For these people that say he gets some sort of special treatment, it's insane. I don't think anyone has packed in this many quality opponents in terms of having such a relatively short career.
Yeah.
But he is now on the other side of 30. He had a very, very long amateur career. Father Time eventually catches up to everybody. That's just a fact of life.
Yeah, man, that's true. I mean, it's
Steve, have you got him number 1 on your pound for pound list, or do you have Canelo? I have Canelo and him number 2, or do you have Crawford? I'm not sure. I haven't seen yours yet.
It's interesting. ESPN does make me do a pound for pound list, something I didn't do for years. I actually have Inoue number 1 based on his sheer dominance at the championship level. But I said this. I think, in my view, there's about 5 guys that stand out. Canelo, Lomachenko, Crawford, Inoue, and I'd say Usyk based on his achievements. And I think you can mix and match any way you want, and I wouldn't argue. I think it's a very, very slim margin between 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And in my view, guys, I don't know how you guys feel about this. Why does the pound for pound list need 10 guys? Can't you just list 5 guys and say everyone else? You know, that's the way I feel about it. I think those 5 guys are clearly ahead of the pack.
Yeah, I mean, thing of picking 10 fighters is quite difficult when you're doing a pound for pound list. We did a show a little while back, and I was struggling because there's a lot of guys you're just putting in there to fill the numbers up. Well, I agree with that one as well.
Right. Like, is there any difference between the 8th best fighter and the 17th? There really isn't that much. And so, I mean, look, I thought a guy like Danny Roman, if he would have beaten, Akhmadaliev, which I think was a very close fight, guys, and I'm a Danny Roman homer. I'll admit my bias there. I thought that fight could have gone either way. I'm thinking to myself, this guy has really good victories. He's unified part of the belts, and he got no respect. Josh Taylor certainly deserves it. And look, because we have certain rules within our pound-for-pound list, for the first time, I wanted to move Golovkin out of my list because I say, look, I got to go with what my eyes see, but I wasn't allowed to because he actually won his fight, which I don't agree with, but I have to play by those rules. So, you know, to me, the guys, if you would tell me Canelo's number 1, and if someone else said Lomachenko's number 1, and another guy had Crawford, I would say I agree with you, all of you guys.
Yeah, those pound for pound lists can be a pain in the buttocks because of the subjectivity of it. But hey, listen, it's boxing. There's tons of world class fighters in there, but like you said, there's only a handful, so it's not as easy as it seems. Now, recognize you guys. We'll make this the last question, so we don't keep Steve here for too long. You had a question, right?
Steve. Well, Steve will let us know, right, dude? Steve, he'll let us know. He'll hang out and talk if we get some questions for him. Steve's a good dude.
Top of the hour, guys.
He'll hang and talk, Bucho.
All right, fantastic. And it's BDA, by the way, Stu. You always get us mixed up, man. What's the matter with you?
Well, that was the first time I called you Bucho. I usually get you BDA, bro.
No, I think. Well, I don't know, man. Listen, maybe. Yeah, you're right. All right, recognize. Sorry about that. You had the question about Fury, right? Fury Wilder 3.
Yeah, because I heard him talking about like how it's gonna be really hard to have like full capacity crowds, which is actually it's what makes these fighters a lot of money. Do you see Wilder and Fury 3 happening this year? Because everything's going to be uncertain when it comes to like how many people they're going to let in, and you would have to guess that they're going to have to like pay these guys top money. So have you heard anything about that?
Yeah, I spoke to Bob Arum about 2-3 days ago, and we went through this whole scenario about how boxing proceeds. And I did ask him, do you expect Fury Wilder 3 to happen And will it happen with a crowd? And it was in his estimation, and he may be overly optimistic, admittedly. He said yes, by the time they reschedule it, he believes within 3-4 months that there will be the capability of being a live audience. Now, Bob could be completely off base here, but it is his belief / hope / prayer that there is, because I'm with you. I don't know if you can do that fight based on the fact that the last fight did right around $17 million at the gate. Now, unless you're Bill Gates, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money off the table if you're going to do this in front of a studio with 15 people.
Mm-hmm.
So Bob Arum thinks within 3-4 months, as things become a little bit more normalized, that there will be a crowd. But I don't think anyone really knows right now.
Now, Steve, you I read your article yesterday about might have been yesterday, day before, about Wilder, and I agree also with you that a lot of people are kind of coming down on him about the Glovegate and the other crap going on. But when he was on a PBC podcast, this is a little side note here, why wouldn't he have put a kibosh? Shut that down. You know what I mean? Like, at the same token, he might not be the one saying it, but by saying that cryptic, there's things I could say would happen to me. I mean, he said some things that made it look like he knows some stuff. I can't say now. And I just think he's playing into that, and he's adding fuel to it, because you tweeted something very, I think it's all in a nutshell. What will he do and his fans do if he loses again? Because you can't go the route he went you know what I mean? I'll let you take it from there.
It's a very interesting dynamic between him and his most ardent supporters. It's almost cult-like, it seems like. And I've never seen a fan base take a loss that hard. And we all saw the Oliver Stones come out of the woodwork with their conspiracy theories. I mean, that was everything short of the third glove coming from the grassy knoll. Deontay in a bit of and I gotta tell you, I really like Deontay. He's a friendly, gregarious guy with a great personality, but he started to believe the hype to a certain degree, and he's changed his persona. His personality is a little bit different. A lot of people tell you that, and I think that he feels the pressure that if he shuts down Glovegate and that whole conspiracy theory, that maybe he'll lose the last real, most ardent supporters that he has. That maybe he feels, hey, for all your loyalty toward me, and if you want to put yourselves out like that, I'm going to back you up.
Yeah,
that seems to be
I totally agree. Do you think he froze on the night against Tyson Fury, Steve? Because I think the occasion got to him. He put so much pressure on himself with some of his comments. I think he just froze. What's your opinion of his performance that night?
It was interesting to me that I didn't understand making the second fight into Larry Holmes, Jerry Cooney 2.0. That first fight had no element of a racial division.
Totally agree.
This was not about the Great White Hope. Tyson Fury, even in his home country, is shunned by a lot of people, okay? This is not Henry Cooper. He's not universally beloved here. He's not even Frank Bruno. So, and Tyson Fury, to his credit, said, hey, we're two men fighting. That's it, okay? Now, I thought it was interesting on the last press conference, which I was at, I think it was on a Wednesday, and then leading into the fight, people started bringing up the fact that it was Black History Month. And in my view, and this is my opinion, I think Deontay started to really feel the weight of the expectation of coming through, living up to it. And I thought that was completely unfair. He's an athlete. He's just one singular man trying to make a living. And the costume thing came out. And personally, I think the one mistake he made, guys, the real big mistake, let's say the costume did hold him down. Let's say it did break both ACLs, okay? I wouldn't have brought it up because, number one, you know you're going to be lampooned. You know you're going to become a million-man meme because I've seen the memes. And the fact is you're the one who chose the costume. And the other part is you've got the rematch clause for the third fight. It didn't matter what happened. You were going to get the third fight. You were better off, in my view, not saying anything because you knew once he said it. And I remember seeing some of the tweets trickle out from the writers who wrote the stories. I said to myself, oh, boy, Deontay's going to get it now. And he got it.
And Steve, to your point, and this is coming from one of their that side of the fence's podcasts, and they said it. They admitted Deontay did, and they set us up too. And this is what they said. I mean, they opened the podcast, and this is in the LDBC. This is a popular black podcast, and he said Black History might come to a end. It was a punch to the gut. He said because Deontay, and this is him saying it, Deontay did everything in his power to make this about race, and picking that song, "The Black Excellent." I mean, and the things like you said, he changed from wanting to kill people and cripple people in front of their kids to suddenly be, quoting fucking, I don't know who he was quoting because he sounded kind of absurd when he did it, but you know what I mean, that Tillis Dave rant. And then he realized once he tapped into that, because again, the LDBC, you guys all know, 3-4 years ago, he was a punchline to them. Back when they were all about hit and don't get hit, and that was their mantra, he was a punchline. And all of a sudden, when he went to that, when he started pulling that shit out of his ass, that's when he became the face of them. Because think about it, how do you become the face of a boxing community when you're probably the more limited skill fighter out there? And everybody knows why he did it. So he put all that weight on his own shoulders. That's why I have a little sympathy for him.
Now, Steve, it's interesting because you've been around for a while. It's interesting, you got guys like Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis and Devin Haney. They're all fighting amongst each other now on Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff. Do you think this is good for the younger generation of boxing fans coming up because they get to see more outside of the ring drama, a little bit like they do in the UFC? It seems like the UFC is a little bit ahead of the curve when it comes to marketing compared to boxing. Do you think this is good that this new 2.0 generation of internet boxers taking into Twitter and fighting each other, or is this maybe degrade the quality of boxing a little bit?
Oh, look, it comes down to this. Are they going to actually fight each other, or are they just going to verbally spar over online media? To me, what's interesting is the guy that probably does the least amount of social media is Teofimo Lopez. And last I checked, he's the one that won a legitimate world title against a respected champion. And he was the one going, I'm going to go straight into Lomachenko. Think about that. The other guys are kind of playing footsies around each other on Twitter and Instagram, which I think has its place. Look, this is the 21st century. We are now in the TikTok generation. It's here to stay. It's a great way to market yourself. But if it doesn't actually accumulate and lead to real fight, what's it all for? Then basically these guys become the boxing version of the Instagram model with a lot of filters. That's very limited in my view. I would hope that eventually that the foursome of Teofimo, Tank Davis, Ryan Garcia, and Devin Haney mix it up. I mean, they are all below the age, I believe, of 22, right? They're all within the same weight class at 135 and eventually 140. If we don't get at least 5 or 6 fights from that quartet like we did with Pacquiao, Barrera, Marquez, and Morales, it's a complete indictment. And right now, again, last I checked, the only guy that had won a legitimate world title and then was going into a Lomachenko fight was Teofimo Lopez.
That's true, man. That's true. My co-host King Bucha always tells me, after the Pacquiao-Thurman fight, because I thought Thurman was going to win that fight. I thought Pacquiao was too old. But then Pacquiao, all-time great, he took care of Keith Thurman. And my co-host King Bucha said, man, let me tell you, I know we always say, oh, my generation was the best, my generation was the best. It seems to me like if you look at Oscar De La Hoya, Felix Trinidad, when they fought each other, 26 years old, both of them, undefeated. If you look at the guys they beat, Whitaker, Chavez, Obakar, I mean, you got Icorte, Camacho. You look at guys now in their 20, they're 26. They haven't fought anybody for the most part. I mean, is this just a generation of let's take it slow, let's take it easy, let's not take a risk?
Yes. I mean, what's interesting to me is that not only do the fighters fight less per year, they don't even fight the quality guys anymore. And I put up a tweet a couple of weeks ago saying that Oscar De La Hoya in 1997 fought 5 times, which is amazing. Now, he didn't fight monsters every time out, but that year did include Miguel Angel Gonzalez, who was undefeated, future Hall of Famer and Pernell Whitaker, and 3 decent to solid good fighters, Wilfredo Rivera, Hector Camacho, and then I think it was David Kamau in between. I said, you can't even get guys to fight 3 times a year. And then people said, well, now instead of quantity, we've got quality. And I didn't want to get into it with certain people because I felt as though those guys had an agenda, and they can only go bad if I argue with them. But tell me where. Tell me where the actual quality is across the board. Look, I actually think Errol Spence had a pretty good run going. I think Mikey Garcia, reckless, but hey, undefeated guy, very good fighter. Then he had a back-and-forth battle with Sean Porter. That's certainly a quality win. And it looked like he was heading to Danny Garcia. Now, by today's standards, that's pretty damn good. I give him credit for that. Unfortunately, things didn't work out outside the ring for Errol. But the more I think about it, the more I do appreciate Manny Pacquiao, that the run that he went on from about 2008 all the way to about 2012, it's a special run. It really is, and it was great for the sport of boxing.
Absolutely,
well, Steve. Well, I was going to say, you got Tank Davis. It's been what, over 3 years since that dude fought a top 10 opponent, and his last one was that weight train Pedraza. That was January of 2017, and the only time he's really in the news is for knuckleheadness. But yeah, and they're talking about pay-per-view. In fact, I think you even kind of put a question mark up about that to Ellaby, like, really, pay-per-view? And, and then he went on about it's a movement, people don't understand. And that was all based off him packing in 2/3 of an arena, and in Atlanta.
Well, in all fairness, Jimmy, look, if you fill in 2/3 of an arena in today in a major metropolitan city, whether it's D.C. or Atlanta, that's pretty solid. Because, look, if you're still doing 12 to 15,000, that's pretty damn good. I give him credit. However, here is the caveat to this Leo Santa Cruz fight, which I'm not really that high on. Leo Santa Cruz, when he fought on the Ortiz-Wilder undercard back in November, almost put me to sleep. And this used to be one of my favorite fighters.
Me
but
too.
Jimmy, we've spoken about this.
That guy's so boring to watch, Steve. Honestly, I've never seen him in a side fight.
There's no doubt. I called him Leo Santa Snooze.
Oh,
because honestly, everyone was just kind of dozing off that night. But here's the thing. So I don't think Leo's a really good 130-pounder. I think his optimal or maximum weight is 26. He's at 30. If they make that fight at 35, in my view, it's a complete physical mismatch for Tank, provided, again, and this is not a guarantee, that Gervonta actually makes weight.
Well, I guess Leo's last word.
Yeah, I mean, like Leo Santa Cruz. I mean, this guy. Something about this guy. I mean, I just lost a bit of respect for him when he didn't give Frampton his rematch in Northern Ireland. He promised him, and then went back. And then went back.
I spoke to Carl last year. I spoke to the Jackal last year. I was at a media function before one of his fights. And it was the one when he fought Sonny Fredrickson. So it was on Thanksgiving weekend. And to this day, he's still mystified that he never got that rubber match in Ireland. And I said, I thought you had a deal. And he said, so do I. So did I. And I always get the sense, Carl made money. Okay, we don't have to throw him a benefit. But don't you think there could have been more to Carl Frampton's career, that his best years were kind of wasted post-Scott Quigg?
Yeah. Yeah, what is that about?
I think that was down to promotions, though, Steve. He was with Cyclone Promotions, Barry McGuigan. I just don't think you could get him the big major fights that he wanted.
And then he was the PBC boy for a while.
The thing that I'll never forget is I remember I was at a fight and I'm watching it in the afternoon. I think it was Canelo against James Kirkland. So I'm in Houston and I'm in the hotel room and I'm watching CBS in the middle of the afternoon, which was good for boxing to be on. And Carl Frampton is fighting in Texas against Alejandro Gonzalez Jr. from almost nobody. And I remember he hit the deck twice, and I'm thinking to myself, this guy could probably draw 20,000 anywhere in Europe or somewhere in Ireland. What the hell is he doing in Texas?
Yeah, it seems like this the PBC they don't, it's like the same thing with Errol Spence. When he beat Kell Brook, he goes over to England, beats up the champ over there. It's like legendary stuff. And then what does he do? He gets sidelined for about a year. I mean, it's bizarre the way they handle things over there. Now, speaking of,
I think Al Heyman signed. I think he signed Frampton to feed him to one of his guys. I bet that's all that was about. That wasn't about moving Frampton's career on and making him a star in America. It was about feeding him to his top guys. That's what.
Yeah. Maybe, man. Now, Steve, I wanted to ask you. Go ahead, Jimmy. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say real quick. I think I just read last week that Santa Cruz has now come back and said, come to his senses, basically, and said, yeah, no, forget it. I will not do that fight at 135. If it is to take place, it'll be at 130 only. And there's no way in hell Giovanni Davis is going to make it.
Now that fight has much more intrigue about it because, let's face it, that Friday afternoon before the fight, we're all going to be kind of on pins and needles seeing if Gervonta, who, by the way, had all sorts of issues making 135 eventually against Gamboa, could make 130. So, again, weight classes matter, guys. But even if it's at 130, I didn't get the sense that Leo is a really good junior lightweight when he won that super title of the WBA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, his pop is a little lacking now. He doesn't seem to have the same power. Okay, speaking of making things happen, Terence Crawford, he was on the Joe Rogan podcast, I think it was last year or something, and he just didn't seem to have much to say. I mean, he's never going to be Macho Camacho in there, but he definitely has the skills. What's it going to take for Terence Crawford to make it happen and become a big name, even outside of boxing? Or is that just, has he hit his ceiling when it comes to popularity now?
Well, look, Crawford's already in his 30s, and I think he's one of the most versatile, adaptable fighters in the sport. He's like an amoeba in there. He's form-fitting to any opponent, and he basically takes whatever they do and he turns them around. He makes them fight left-handed. In other words, against their own strength. In terms of his personality, look, he's not the most gregarious guy. He's very guarded. And I don't know if that helps him. I don't know if that really hurts him all that much because he's got a guaranteed contract. In my view, and again, I am not his manager. I am not Brian Bomack McIntyre. I'm not E.F. Hutton. But if there is an actual chance to fight either Spence or Pacquiao, he's going to have to make sure he gets the fight and not over-negotiate himself. Because the real payday and the real benefit is going to be in not just getting the fight, but winning the fight and elevating his profile. So I would hope that, let's say they get to an Errol Spence fight and Al Heyman and PBC, okay, let's do this. If they said to Bob Arum, Top Rank, and Crawford, okay, but we're the A side, we're taking 60%. If I'm that other side, I'm thinking, okay, 40%, and as long as there's no other options, I would be inclined to say take it. Because win the fight and then leverage the rematch. But I've seen too many times where guys overprice themselves to a point they don't get the fight. And you can never win a fight that you don't get. And Terence, unfortunately, does not have time on his side. He has talent on his side, but he doesn't have time on his side. And given the fact that we really don't know about the physical condition or the current state of Errol Spence post-October with that horrific accident, I'd be like, you know what? I'll give you a few extra points financially just so I know I can get in there and beat you. But I don't know if he's going to insist on parity. Because in my view, what's going to happen is that Errol Spence and his side are going to say, well, wait a minute. We draw bigger crowds. We've done bigger pay-per-view. No, we're not giving you that, and they could walk away. So you better be very careful how you approach those negotiations.
Yeah, so he's in a bit of a hard place. Okay, listen, we're coming to the end of the hour here. I'll leave the last question to one of you guys.
Let me ask him.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, Steve, I wanted to ask you because you brought up Errol Spence and his condition. Like me, I was very. I don't know. I found his last fight with Sean Porter to be very promising for him, and I thought because it was a hard fight and he took a beating and he gave a beating. So that's why I liked that. To me, that was like a really good sign of a guy who's going to get better. But because of what happened, are you hearing anything like he'll never be the same?
You know,
have you heard anything to that effect?
I had heard from the very beginning that he may not even fight this year. Now, let's look at this factually. Even before this coronavirus shut down everything, they were making a lot of comments about when they were going to come back, but there was no actual date. Now, let's go back. I believe it was December 23rd, thereabouts, when Jermell Charlo fought Tony Harrison at the rematch in Ontario on Fox. Very good show. I thoroughly enjoyed being there. And Errol Spence was there, gave his first public announcements, and he said, I'll be back soon. Well, if you fast forward all the way to mid-March, when boxing was still quote unquote going, he still hadn't had a fight, which meant that he wasn't going to fight till at least June. So,
And he looked terrible too.
I'm a
in
realist.
that interview.
Right, and again, he got thrown out of a car like Mr. Bill. So look, everyone's going to look terrible.
Yeah.
I'm just very thankful that he survived. He's a very nice young man. But if you look at logic, and if you look at this pragmatically, if any of us got thrown out of a car going well over 100 miles per hour and we bounced off the canvas, and there are reports that he had jaw surgery or a dental surgery, I want to know what happens the first time, or maybe this has happened. What happened that first time he got hit right on the mouth or right in his teeth? How did he react towards it? Because it's very sensitive in that area. So I'll be honest. I hear a lot of people on Twitter saying that Errol Spence should come right back to a real fight, that there should be no tune-ups. I completely disagree. There are people, I get it, you hate the PBC, you may not like Spence or whoever handles his career, but let's be realistic. The guy got thrown out of a car, okay? It may have been his fault. He's going to face more. He's already faced legal charges. I get it. But let's be realistic. If there's ever a time for a guy to have a tune-up fight, I would think it's this much, and then let's see where it goes. And then you can match him up against either a Danny Garcia, Pacquiao, or whoever. But these people who literally think that you should jump right back into the deep end of the pool, I completely disagree with that.
Well, yeah, Steve, did you hear the LDBC made a video? They're saying now that Fury cut his brake lines.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. I'm just being a douche.
All right. Well, listen.
Wow.
Listen.
Comment.
Steve, thank you for joining us, man. Thank you for joining us. I've always wanted to talk to you. Like I said, I've been reading you and Doug Fisher's articles since the Max Boxing days in the early 2000s. So it was a pleasure talking to you. Don't forget, check out Steve Kim's articles over at ESPN, the boxing section over there. You can catch him on Twitter as well as at Steve ESPN Kim. And don't forget to check out the 3 Knockdown Rule, which I believe is the finest boxing podcast out there. Him and his co-host.
Best one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Him and his
Best
co-host Mario
podcast, you and
Lopez.
Mario.
Fantastic chemistry between those two. So, Steve, thank you for joining us, man. Really appreciate it.
Steve, awesome talking to you again, brother. Glad to hear everything's going good with you, bro.
Was that, Steve?
Absolutely, guys. We'll do it again soon. Stay well.
All
Have
right.
a great weekend, guys.
Fantastic.
All right,
Thank you,
Steve.
man.
Peace,
You
brother.
too.
Yeah. Cheers, Steve. Thanks for coming on, bro.
Take it easy. All right. All right. So that was Steve Kim. Guys, fantastic questions from all of you, man, and people from the chat. We couldn't get to the chat room enough this time because otherwise we got to limit the questions there. But I mean, really, just sensational stuff from all of you. Really poignant stuff. And again, thanks to Steve Kim for joining us and spending more time than I thought he would. I was actually rushing.
Well,
through
no,
everything.
that's. Oh yeah, no, BDA. That's right. I didn't mean to like step on you, like come on and just say that, like. But I just wanted to let you know, Steve's like that. If he comes on the show with you, if he makes time, he'll make time.
Okay.
You know what I mean? He'll sit and talk with you as. I mean, he loves boxing. He'll chew the fat. He's really a good dude. He'll stay on his. You know what I mean? So yeah, no, he's a good guy.
Yeah, man, thank you for that. Yeah, because it gave me a little bit more confidence in the fact that I didn't have to rush through. That's why I started asking a couple more questions because that I wanted to get to. But yeah, thanks again for that, Jimmy. Really appreciate it, man. And again,
No, I just didn't want you to feel you had to.
No, thanks, man. Thanks, man. By the way, hit the like button. Don't forget, hit the like button. Really helps us out, man. Yeah, you hit the like button, you spread the BDA gospel. By the way, check out the film analysis,
BDA
the second
gospel.
part. Was that right?
The BDA gospel.
The BDA
Dude,
gospel.
think about it, dude. You just had arguably the #1 boxing writer in the world. Fucking, he writes for ESPN on BDA, man. It's BDA's the legitimate thing, man. Good for you.
Well, even if he wasn't working for ESPN, I've always wanted to talk to him because I've been reading his stuff since the early 2000s. And I still remember him being one of the first.
We got some super chats. We got Julio Ochoa, Julio Ochoa. Great stuff, guys. Love Kim, and you did Jen. I don't know if he's meant to say degenerates or
Yeah, I think
DJ.
he
I
means
don't know
that,
what
yeah.
he's saying.
Yeah, I think he missed the generous.
Project Jab has also said, keep up the good work, guys. Thanks for the donations. So, yeah, don't be shy, guys. If you want to put a donation in, get your wallet out. Don't be shy. Don't be tight.
Yeah, that's right. Don't be shy. And thank you, Stu, for reading that there, man.
You are such a...
Oh, hold on a second. No. That was a that was a soundbite that I'm saving for next time. But yeah, well, you know what I wanted to ask him too about it was Edwin Valero. Because I remember him and Doug Fisher in the Max Boxing days were one of the guys that were talking. This was pre-YouTube. If you wanted to get some obscure fights, you had to go to the torrents if you were lucky. And he was one of the first that was pushing Edwin Valero, saying, "Hey, keep an eye on this guy." It really did lead to legendary status. So next time, if we can get him and Doug Fisher again as well, I'll ask him that. Project Jab says, "Yeah, way back to the Max Boxing days." Tarvis the Chimp says, "Call him back." First they call him. I like how these people in the chat room make demands. I like how people make demands. Like, hey, yeah, somebody was saying, ask Steve Skim to explain himself, and I asked him, explain what? It's like, I didn't know he had some explaining to do. I was like, well, anyway, yeah, really, thank you guys too. I mean, I saw some fantastic questions in the chat room that I couldn't get to, but again, next time, if we get him next time, some other time, that would be fantastic. But yeah, it really bummed me out when he did say that you know, it's if they do hold fights without an audience, that's going to take away some financing there, and so that means that they might.
It's going to be like watching a Rigondeaux event, isn't it?
Oh, come on! Wait a minute.
Like watching a Rigondeaux fight, man.
Yeah.
Can I be honest with you guys?
Dog, you got to love L Dog, innit? He had his chance to ask Steve Kim a question, and he had to bring Hergovich into it.
Yeah, he did.
And it cost him $5 as well.
Well, listen, that he's got money to spend over there in New Zealand.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, them guys you were talking about earlier that followed Marquez everywhere. I mean, I think fucking L Dog's just as bad with Hergovich. I mean, Hergovich has got a tent in his front garden as we speak. It's L Dog, isn't it? He's there in the garden, isn't he?
Oh, come on,
hey, can I tell you, I personally, if I was fighting professionally, there's no fucking way I'd fight in an empty place. I need that crowd. You know what I mean? You just want.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't even think this is. I mean, I guess maybe by what was it? They pushed it for October. Maybe by then, you know, they'll stop freaking being so paranoid over a flu, and then they'll allow a certain crowd. But you know, I'm hearing a lot of stuff, a lot of rumors. I mean, it's probably just rumors for now. That when they do open up, the max they're gonna allow like sporting arenas to sell. It's like 50% of their capacity. Yeah.
Well, so it's going to be up to individual states. I mean, that's the thing. Well, actually, today Trump fired off. Yeah, well, I guess Trump is saying he's threatening to sign a bill so he will take over, like when to open up the economy. Because a lot of Democratic-run states now realize the longer they put this off, the more broke people get, the more angry they get, and they'll take it out on somebody. So they're actually putting people's lives at risk to fucking gain power.
You know what's funny you say that? You know it's funny you say that because the last 2 days, I mean, people are like panicking. The last 2 days in New York City, and they haven't seen this in a while. They reported 10 homicides in 7 different occasions. So it's not like there was a mass murder. It was like,
what are they going to do in heroin addicts, dude? I worked in a prison. Yeah. I saw what people do when they start coming off. Dude, this over 4 million, I think I read somewhere, 4 million active junkies in the United States right now. When they can't get their dope anymore, they're going to start fucking armed robbing pharmacies. And then they're talking about, they keep the liquor store open. I know some people don't understand why. I'm like, you ever see anybody go through DTs, an alcoholic? They just drop in the ground and go into seizures. They can't. You can't. There's so many millions of alcoholics. You can't just cut them off from that. But I'm just saying, when you start taking things away from people, it's and once the fucking floodgates and civil disobedience starts really ripping off, it's going to be a floodgate. Because like my girl in the town we live in, they passed a law. You're supposed to leave a mask every day now. She goes out with a mask.
Oh, come on.
Like fucking no, they better swear to God, she wants to get arrested for it. She's like, this is because she works in a law firm. She's like, and she knows civil liberties. They've overstepped their boundaries. Like you cannot say and do some of the things they've been doing. You just legally, the Bill of Rights. You can't just the governor in fucking Virginia or whatever. He was on Fox the other night talking, and Tucker straight out asked him. He's like, you realize it's not within your legal power to do what you're doing. There's a Constitution. Exactly, Jersey. Thank you.
Yeah,
it's a joke, Jimmy. I mean, actually, mental health is going to be on the rise, mate, because I'm starting to lose my fucking marbles sitting in this house.
Child abuse.
Look,
exactly,
look,
dude.
I've got my daughter at the moment. I've got my daughter and a son at the moment. And she's all bought into the fucking hype. I'm not allowed to go anywhere or have anyone round, putting me in danger. That's her fucking. I had to sneak. Hey, I had to fucking sneak a woman in my house last night. I had to sneak her in. She had to duck down when I was driving past the house because I got this little. I call it the dog house where we go and I've got all. We went in there and said, but I had to sneak a girl in last night because I didn't want my fucking daughter having a go. Do you know what I mean, it's a nightmare. Brainwashed.
Well, I love right now.
Stories with women, boy.
All right, let's not get into panic mode.
The domestic abuse hotline here in Massachusetts has seen a 700% increase on calls.
That's insane.
And now they're worried. Yeah, now they're worrying about child abuse. People, guys who beat their kids who were never home are now with them all day.
You know, it's funny that you say that, right? Because
it's funny.
Even the cops over here, like, I have a talk with a few of them, and they're like, yeah, the one thing that's going up is fucking domestic violence. He goes, you know what's next? And I was like, what's that? He goes, murder. He told me to look up some website, and he said, if you look it up, the last 2 weeks, so 14 days, he said, we've only reported like 4 homicides. He goes, you think that's all we have? Like 4? He's like, there's got to be more.
Wait. Are you saying they haven't found out those homicides yet, or that they're?
Yeah,
They haven't found the bodies.
New York City is 8.5 million people. You telling me there's only 4 in 14 days? That's it?
Yeah, that's right. Go ahead, Jimmy. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, plus police aren't even pulling people over for certain things. Cops who don't want to catch corona now. And, all you got to do, too, if you're going to get pulled over, is start sneezing and coughing. I'm on my way, man. I think I got it. I'm going to the hospital. They'll probably run from you. But
we got this thing called Citizens Apps. You guys heard of that, right? Citizens Apps. You guys probably have it where you're at.
Is that what
they're
guarantee
little hot spots that everybody's pointing out?
All right,
getting really big.
I guarantee divorce rates are going to be on the rise. Look, no one can be around their wife or their girlfriend for too long before they fucking lose their head. I mean, they're just unbearable to be around women, especially all day. I mean, like I said, I can't wait for this fucking lockdown to stop so I can send my daughter on her fucking way home. I don't want her around me.
It's true, man.
Plus, listen, you want to kill a fucking economy. Listen, you bring the economy, let it get too far, and it gets into the depression mode. You want to talk about the people who'll die from fucking poverty? Poverty leads to crime, alcoholism, drug abuse, despair, mental health. So you're going to destroy fucking your country to save, let's be honest, elderly for the most part. I'm not saying by all means there's all kinds of people dying, but from the most part, I think it's like 98% elderly.
Yeah. It's if you look at who it's killed, it's basically what the flu kills. It always kills older people.
Yeah.
And the fact that fucking it came out of, nobody tell me any different. It come out of that fucking Wuhan virus center, and China lied and fucking all this bullshit. Like I just found out my godmother almost died, I guess. I didn't even know. I just found out the other day she had it. And I guess my dingbat cousin, they wanted to use that chloroform chloropen that they heard the brothers. My cousin said, well, Trump, what was about that stuff he was talking about? And the doctor said, it's up to you. I can get it if that's the route you want to go. And their sister was saying, no. CNN was saying it kill you. It's dangerous. So she was actually trying to, and the brothers were like, shut the fuck up. And they took it. Dude, they put her on it at 9 o'clock at night, right? They called the priest in that day to give her last rites. They were, he didn't get in, but they were calling him. But when they put her on that medication, the next day she was up eating breakfast, walking around. It was insane.
Wait. So let me just get this straight. So they gave her the hydrochlorine or that thing that they're talking about?
Yes, chlorine. Yep, exactly.
And it worked.
And she was within 12 hours. She was up walking around. She wrote a letter to the president. I swear to God, she was a lifelong Democrat. Yeah, no, dude, it's crazy. Like CNN, of course, they go against everything Trump says, so they're saying, they came out. But no, the doctors are using it. And fucking same thing with even the doctor who's on Fox every night. His 92-year-old father had it, corona, and was real bad on it. They were saying they were ready to call it in. And they put him on that. And he said by the next day, it was a remarkable recovery.
That's insane, man. That's insane.
That's encouraging. That's encouraging signs because look, it's getting out of hand now, isn't it? I mean, every day you're fucking reading different numbers and stuff about people dying, and you don't want to see people dying. I mean, look, there's a lot of selfish fuckers out there, isn't it? When you talk about people, but they're old anyway. They were going to go. They still fucking deserve to be alive, don't they?
Yeah, it's true.
Oh, no, I wanted to say that too, Stu. Listen, I love the elderly, and I'm not just saying that to sound like a fucking virtue signaling douchebag. I've said it on the show. I go to a wedding. I go to anywhere. I like to sit with the old people. I love talking. They lived it. I've said it a bunch of times. So I'm a real advocate about you take care of your family. But I don't believe the state should. I believe family, if they have it, should take care of them. But my point being, you can't destroy because, yes, the elderly, I would imagine if they people of character, they're saying, wait, but my grandchildren's futures are going to be destroyed. No, listen, I lived my life. You know what I mean? Because you ruin an economy, you crash it this hard for a long time, it could take fucking years to get fucking back to normal. And all kinds of bad shit could happen.
This is why I wouldn't be surprised to see it back in order by June. I mean, they can't keep going on like this. They're going to have to get the economy back running because a lot of these Western countries, they're going to be fucking in serious debt by the end. And look, China needs to pay some sort of
retribution. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, let me tell you something about Facebook. I put a comment about China. I said, fucking China need to pay for this. You know, at the end of the day, it was their stupidity and their carelessness that's cost a lot of lives. Oh, fucking 3-day ban on Facebook. The comment weren't even there for half an hour.
Yeah. Did you really?
Just for mentioning China, coronavirus in the same fucking sentence. I got free. That must have been up for 20 minutes before it was taken down.
No, that's great. The Chinese own Facebook
Silicon Valley has. I'm sorry, BDA. Go.
No, that was exactly what I was going to say. They own Facebook. They own Reddit now, partly, or for the most part. I mean, it's insane.
You got the fucking douchebag the guy on CNN yesterday, because a senator from down south came on and said, he's been saying it all along. Listen, that bat, first they said it was bats from a wet market. Now people from that wet market said, we haven't sold those bats because on a wet market it has to be local meat, bush meat. The closest those bats were to that wet market are 600 miles away. So there's no doubt about it now.
That's a man-made virus, Jimmy. That's a man-made virus. Look.
Of course it is.
It's too coincidental, right, that the Chinese have got a population problem of 2 billion people nearly, and this is a socialist country that has to pay for medical care for the elderly. It costs an absolute fortune. And look, it's just a bit convenient that this flu is taking out the weak, the sick, and the old. I mean, how convenient is that?
Now wait a minute.
It's even more convenient, the fact that it only had an outbreak in Wuhan. No outbreaks in Hong Kong. No huge outbreaks in Beijing. Why only in Wuhan? Oh, that's right, because also Wuhan, I guess, was a city that had a lot of dissident politic people. It was known, so it was like, if you're going to fuck up a city, why not do one not friendly to the fucking establishment?
All right,
but to see the people on CNN and those assholes come out and defend China makes my blood boil.
Yeah, you know what? Let's save that for a second renaissance, because I mean, nowadays there's a lot of eyes and ears all over the place, and it's for some reason I'll just put it this way: more scary than the virus, because I'm not even scared of the virus, is why they even fanned the flames about this in the first place. That's what scares me. So I'm a bit paranoid right now about what we can and can't say.
You want to know something too, BDA? There's been several admissions from this task force, this COVID task force, and what's the other guy's name?
Fauci.
Anthony Fauci.
Whatever his name is.
They've all the chick that's like the spokeswoman for the COVID-19 task force. She was asked why are you guys still putting? This is a journalist. She just asked her, are you guys still marking everything a COVID-19 death? And she explained some bullshit basically we're gonna do that for now. So remember this, keep this in mind. The numbers you're seeing is her saying we're gonna do this for now because we don't have an understanding of what COVID-19 is, and so yes, we're one of the few countries that are still doing it this way.
Yeah,
so
man.
she's basically saying that there's other countries that are doing more research and saying, look, no, that person did not die of COVID-19. They actually died of something else.
Yeah, but let's be real, right? Someone could fucking die in an explosion, lose all its limbs, and they'd put him down as a coronavirus.
Yeah, I know.
Dude, there was a tweet yesterday. I thought it was hilarious. It said a Florida man died. Oh, it was a dude.
I saw a really mean meme on Twitter. It was like, I'm sure that guy got taken down. He put like there was a kid that got shot in a park. I think like somewhere in the Bronx or something. Like kid found dead, shot twice. Apparently the coronavirus killed him.
Oh, come on, jeez, Luis. I mean,
it's fucked up because the kid's a teenager, right? But I get what he was trying to say.
Well, there was a tweet, Florida man dies of alligator. No, Florida man eaten by alligator, pronounced it. No, it's coronavirus, the same thing. It was like retweeted 10,000 times. And that's what happened in Italy, you know, guys. They started giving everybody who died, they did an autopsy. They just said coronavirus. And what happened, that skewed the numbers. And then the United States was using that because remember in the beginning, well, Italy, all these people, it's up to 10% of dying. Then they come to find out that Italy, the guy who's in charge of that, came out and said, yeah, but wait a minute. We've been calling everything death. If somebody died, we just slap coronavirus. We'll deal with it later.
Yeah,
so
you're right. But listen, people want.
That's how nasty, disgusting, and toxic that the Western media is, because for them to lie to us, to put. I mean, look, not us, but there's a lot of weak-minded people out there that fall for this shit, and they're in panic. And like I said, this has put a lot of people under a lot of stress, and they're lying to us, and that makes it even worse. When you see these corny little fuckers on the news lying to us, like you said, some guy gets shot in Afghanistan, head to the bullet. He's a coronavirus victim on the stats. This is what I'm saying. It's just disgusting lies. And this is where we are with the media now. I would say to anyone listening to this show, I haven't watched normal TV since November last year. I haven't watched it. I don't watch the news. All my stuff I watch is Amazon, Netflix, or I come on here, BDA on YouTube. That is it. I stay away from the
mainstream media.
They're just fucking toxic.
Yeah,
and they'll make you miserable.
Media, man.
It's not just that. You go on normal channels, you'll watch something, it'll be very miserable. It'll put you on a down, and then the adverts will come on, and they've got some mistreated donkey they want you to fucking donate to, or puppy farms that need to be stopped, or some bear in a cage. They just mentally fucking drain you. And
anyway, listen, we gotta
keep away from it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's the mainstream media. I mean, if you're still watching that to get your entertainment and your news, I don't know what to tell you. But real quick, I want to give a shout out to Rapax Trucking Company, who donated the super chat. Did not leave a message. Rapax, feel free to leave a message next time, and thank you for your contribution. Real quick, because I just wanted to ask this question to Jimmy, because I don't know if you guys asked him this, or at least I didn't hear it. Jimmy, Dana White, he wanted to keep making that Ferguson fight, and he was going to make it God knows where. I think he was going to make it under the earth. I don't know, but he was just trying to push for the fight. This guy reminds me a lot of Vince McMahon, where he's gonna do whatever he's gonna want to do, and nobody can stop him. What was the deal with that? What did you think of that?
Well, he listen. I guess Dana's kind of on the right, so which is the one thing about him. I guess you can say is good. He's not. He hates social justice warrior, and he's like Stu and the rest of us. Like Stu was just saying, he sees the lies and he knows it's bullshit, and he wants to. I'll tell you one thing about Dana. I think he's a fucking weasel. But if he was to buy the PBC, all these protected motherfuckers, those days would be done. Because he'd say, listen, okay, what would be the biggest money fight? Well, it would be Bud Crawford Spence right now. We'll make it. Well, I don't want to do it. You know, he would just make them, or either that or I'm not paying. You're not going to get a fight.
Yeah. Well, the thing is with Dana as well, he's not shy to call his fighter out. If it's a poor performance, Dana will say, yeah, he was fucking shit. He won't be fighting again in a hurry. Dana will say it how it is. And these fighters, they're not going to be mollycoddled. They're not going to be spoon-fed. Dana will make them earn their money, just like he does in the UFC. And if you turn your opportunity down with Dana White, back to the back of the queue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've seen that happen.
100% right still.
Yeah, we've seen that. And it's not like boxing where, let's say, Errol Spence had some sort of beef with Al Heyman. Yeah, Golden Boy or Eddie Hearn or somebody would pick him up. Bob Arum. In MMA, what are you going to do? You're going to go to Bellator And then what else? What's the other one? One FC or something like this? Like, there's not that many.
But
options
UFC is the big money one, exactly.
Exactly. Yes.
How many careers? How many fights careers have you seen that have left the UFC and just gone on and just gone stale? I mean, the UFC is where it is. I mean, look, if you're not fighting at the UFC, then you're not fighting the best, and that's why people don't take Bellator serious or these other ones. That's why.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he turned his back on GSP. So if he fucking would, I mean, GSP was one of the best all-time MMA fighters. But when he was shocked, I guess GSP, we couldn't believe he did it because at the time he was pre-Conor, he was the biggest fighter.
Mm-hmm.
And when he, just like Stu said, was offered a fight, he didn't take it, and Dana said, "Fuck you, then," and put him on the shelf.
But that's why Dana White is a successful businessman. Let's be real. He's made the UFC billions of dollars. I mean, Al Heyman wish he had half the promoting skills as Dana White. He just hasn't. I know he's not down as a promoter. For me, he is a promoter. He's calling the shots from the background. Let's be real. But Dana White is probably one of the best out there, and I think he'd be good for boxing. I think these snowflake fighters need a kick at the arse, and I think Dana White's the sort of guy to give him it, sort of thing.
Yeah, that's one thing you gotta respect about Dana White is at least he walks to or dances to the rhythm of his own drum, the beat of his own drum. But he also the way he treats certain fighters and the way he talks too, it's very, very boorish. But now, by the way, Jimmy, I don't know if you heard Joe Rogan's last podcast or not. Before the last, he had an author of a book about Charles Manson, and he was talking about I don't know if you guys ever heard of the infamous Laurel Canyon, which is the place where where a lot of that shit took place. He was talking, yeah, well, he mentioned the story that I think we've talked about it here before. That Whitey Bulger, once he was in jail, he started saying that he'd been MK Ultra'd, that he'd been brainwashed by that infamous program by the CIA. Have you ever heard about that?
Well, he was involved when he was in he was put in Attica. He was the last group of prisoners in 1950.
Oh,
Jimmy.
Did we lose you?
Yeah.
Oh, the CIA.
Once you mentioned Attica, they cut him off.
Yeah, the CIA. Yeah, the CIA.
Whitey Bulger's, he weren't involved with no MK. He knew exactly what he was doing. Look, are you telling me he was brainwashed to be a complete fucking rat all his life? No. I mean, look, this guy was a scumbag of the highest order. And any excuse for his actions, let's be real, when you're in that game and you're a rat, I mean, people say, like Henry Hill always just say, even though he's out, he's free. He never was free, because when you rat on them sort of people, you're constantly watching behind you, and you do feel guilty about ratting your friends, because at one time these guys were your friends and stuff. So look, I'm not buying it.
By the way, did we get Jimmy back? Jimmy, are you there? Okay, maybe, you know what? Maybe he had something to do and he had to mute the mic. But yeah, you're right, man. I mean, listen, the guy did. But that's the other thing about Bulgy Water. What his name was? He disappeared for a while, and it makes you wonder, did he get some help there evading the authorities, or was it just...
No, he changed his appearance up quite well. I mean, he had a bit of surgery. He lived in some lily white neighborhood in the Midwest somewhere where no one was taking a notice of him. I mean, I think it was actually his neighbor that caught him in the end. But she I mean, even she didn't realise. I can't remember how it went, because it's been a while since I see it. But I know he was hiding quite well. He had a lot of money, you see, because I reckon when they arrested him, they went in his house and they found like millions of dollars in his walls and stuff. Put it in the walls and plastered it up. So he was obviously had the when you've got millions of dollars on you, you can go missing. I mean, most people get caught when they're in hiding is because they run out of money, so they have to go and commit another crime, or they have to go to a friend's house to get food or whatever, or that's when they get caught. But when you've got millions of dollars, you can soon go on the run.
That's right.
Well, listen, by the way, we got Jimmy back. We're going to have to end this soon, but Jimmy, are you there?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, because I thought maybe... I don't know
sometimes a very feared reputation could get you ratted out. Like, sometimes it's not good to be like too feared, right?
All right. Yeah, man.
Because then like somebody like, oh shit, I might as well rat him out. He's gonna kill me anyway.
Yeah, that's true. true. That's true. It is a 50-50 coin right there. All right, listen. We do have to go. Don't forget, though, guys, tomorrow, open panel. All right? Open phone lines, open stream, whatever. Everybody calls in. And we're going to be addressing, I think Bucho, Bucho's going to host it because he's the one that knows how to deal with this whole thing. And we're going to be talking about Devin Haney's comments that he made, alienating a large part of the boxing community because of his comments. So we're going to talk about that. Okay. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow. We're going to take phone calls, guys. You call in, let us know. And it's not just about that. It's going to be about a whole lot of things. I might drop by as well. Why not? Should be interesting. Bucho, do you know? Yeah. Butcher, do you know which time you're going to do it? Is there a timeline there involved?
Same time.
5:30? All right. Yeah. So guys, don't miss it, man.
Do you know the thing about boxing, though? Do you know the thing about boxing, guys? Boxing is... Karma always finds his way to these fights in boxing. When these fighters make comments like that, it always seems to come back to them. And like I said, I got a feeling Devin Haney saying that comment, you can see him go on a run now, where he's getting fucking beat up by white boy after white boy.
When I heard the comment, he's gonna lose to a white guy.
What a fucking
douchebag. All right, listen, we're gonna talk. Think about everything you want to say, and we will be saying it tomorrow. And we'll, like I said, taking phone calls tomorrow too as well. Hey, by the way, don't forget, check out BDA Live. We just dropped the Demetrius Andrade, the second part of the film analysis where we talk about his weaknesses. It's Bucho, Recognized Gonzalo, and myself. We did that video a while back, and we finally posted it. So check out those parts. We're gonna be dropping more.
Just today, right?
Yeah, just today. Jimmy, and Stu, you gotta come on board, man. You gotta come on board for those film analysis because we're gonna be doing one on Inoue, Crawford, Teofimo Lopez, and
absolutely, bro. I'd love to.
And just to a little disclaimer: if I sound like I was falling asleep, I mean, come on, it's Demetrius Andrade.
Oh, come on. Did you check out the comment section? There's about a couple of Demetrius Andrade fans going, "Oh, even these Canelo fans admit that Demetrius Andrade would be a problem." I'm thinking, wait a minute, since when are we Canelo fans? And by the way, in the second video,
I'm not a Canelo fan. I don't know where they get this from.
Hey, but I'll admit, Andrade, he is a talented kid. He's got length. He can jab. He's a natural athlete, a great ball player too. He plays great basketball player, so he's a good athlete. It's just we don't know who's he ever fought. He's like that fucking clown that made that comment. You know what I mean? That made that racial comment. Kid's 24-0, and he's an email champ. Fuck him.
Well, listen, you guys, check, everybody out there watching, listening, check out that video, and you tell us, man, do you think Demetrius Andrade has what it takes to take on Canelo and beat him? I think you're going to be surprised by the answer. Well, thank you, Jimmy. That's essentially the answer. It was no from everybody. But check it out. Yeah, check it out anyway, man. Check it out. It's a good video. It's a good technical breakdown. And I really enjoy doing those. So we're going to be doing that, like I said, on Inoue. We're going to be doing it on Casimero for that fight. Teofimo Lopez for Lomachenko. And Terence Crawford, who says he wants to fight. He told Jermall Charlo, the one at 154, he said, "Hey, you can get it too, motherfucker. I'm waiting for you." So we're going to look at Crawford. Yeah, man. So
I don't miss any of those, dude. That's part of my pre-fight ritual is to watch your breakdown. Sometimes when you don't have them, I curse you. No, I'm just kidding. No, I always watch
wait a
them.
minute.
They're excellent, brother.
Thank you, Jimmy.
I've been spending a lot of work, man. So, but no, I appreciate them.
Thank you, man. Thank you. That means a lot coming from you.
Hey, BDA, I can see you going on TV soon.
On TV?
Yeah. I think you have the voice for it. You got the personality. You should do it.
I got the personality. I got to work on a bunch of other things too, like the cursing. But thank you, Recognized. Thank you. And by the way, I have been on screen before, but it's nothing you can show on TV. Let's just put it that way. Now, look, I want to thank everybody. All right, I want to thank everybody who joined us. Stu, Recognized, Jimmy. Who else was here? Yeah, that was about it. My co-host Bucho, who already left, and. Hold on a second. By the way, can't forget Steve.
I think you covered everybody.
Was that?
I think you got everybody.
Almost. I want to thank Steve Kim again for joining us. Really fantastic show and very gracious of him to show up here and give us his opinion, answer our questions. I want to give a shout out to Mark, L Dog, Nick Undisputed, Julio Choa, and Project Jab, and Rapex Trucking Company, was it? Who donated with a super chat. Shout out to you guys. Thank you for that. Really make this show. You keep pushing this show to new heights. So thank you. Oh, it was Rapex Trucking Company. Ratbag's Trucking Company. So again, thank you. Thanks to all the panelists. Again, recognize Jimmy, Stu, Bucho, and we'll see you guys tomorrow on the.
All right, everybody be safe, man. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right, fantastic. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Hold on a second. Let me just. All right, so don't forget to hit that like, subscribe to BDA Live, and I want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat room: Seamus Carey, Travis the Chimp, Baboon Boxing, Triple JJJ. Gosh, I gotta move to this fast. Kissy Dearman, Bay Area Boxing, Alan R, Seamus Carey, Pudos Putazos, TelJ2, SSB28, Marcelo Hernandez, TelJ2, shout out to Virtuoso, Alan R, Rod Rook Davis, shout out to Rod, Ralph Unreal, Brian Harkins, shout out to Brian, Smarty Jones, Jobber, Boxing Archives and Facts, who else? If I miss anybody, guys, I'm going through the list here. Amok PvP, Claudio Monreal, Vince Vegas, L Dog, Project Jab. Thank you guys for joining us. If I missed anybody, you know how it works. Thank you anyway for joining us. Really appreciate your viewership. Take care, and we'll catch you tomorrow evening. All right, guys, take it easy, fellas. Oh, Triple JJJ 2 as well. Shout out.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend you.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I kiss you on the mouth.
No, I'm not cool with that. I'm sorry.
One more time.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I mean, I'm dealing with degenerate animals.
I'm disappointed in every one of you. Disappointed in every one of you.
All right, come on.
Honestly, I can't do it no more.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
Then let me tell you why.
It's gonna be all right, Nicky. Go ahead, shoot.
He just killed a little fucking man.
What are you going to do about it?
You're happy because you got nothing. You don't got a thing. You're happy because you got nothing. Lomito! Got nothing.
I want to get out. I want to get out of this rat hole. I want to get online. I need
BDA Boxing.